cool dragon, by the way.
He is big boy, big chungus dragon. That would be your dragon.
I would break any other dragon's back. They wouldn't stand a chance.
Like, the dragons can't speak. They'd be shaking their heads like, I'm not letting him ride me. Absolutely not.
No. I get on the back of just a random dragon like, howdy. Welcome to another episode of the Couch Gambit podcast. Just to let you know, we've lost the vegan, as well as the best looking member on the show, Charles Carlisle.
He's in the background.
Liam is here.
But just as useless as normal.
Exactly.
Actually, he's actually more useful this way. We could do this podcast for like this from now on, and we would gain more viewers.
Well, but like, what about Charles?
We would have to have him back. He's the sex appeal of the podcast. Because someone has to be.
I mean, I know I'm not.
We gotta.
Oh God. So this episode, it's gonna be. It might be a bit of a clusterfuck because we have few things that we're going to talk about that probably seem like they'd have like no correlation whatsoever.
Yeah.
But it made sense in my mind to bring it up. But basically, we're going to be talking about kind of a retrospective of the first season of the House of the Dragon, since the second season's coming out when?
In June, early June.
Cool.
Yeah.
Man, a lot of things are coming out in June.
Very soon. Elden Ring's coming out in June. DLC.
So we've got the Elden Ring DLC coming out in June. We've got the House of the Dragon. We have Destiny 2, the Final Shape DLC that's coming out. That really only I care about, even though the game kind of sucks now. It doesn't suck per se, but there's a lot of things about the game that make me sad.
You quoted it well. It's not really a game; it's an addiction.
Yeah, it's true. But we're not here to talk about Destiny 2.
Which, by the way, we will be doing an Elden Ring playthrough with probably just me and Michael before the DLC launches, and then we will be discussing the DLC Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree once that comes out. Yeah. Just a heads up, if you like our stuff and want to continue
no one's gonna
watching us.
No one's going to watch. But when we do play Elden Ring, there's going to be like a twist on it. I don't know if you want me to go into it now or if you want me to go into it in the future.
We can go into that later if you want.
Yeah, let's do it later. But let's focus on the topics that we're going to go over this episode. So, as I said, we're going to go over House of the Dragon Season 1, what we liked about it, maybe some of the things we didn't like about it. We're also going to go over all of Game of Thrones. I don't know how in-depth we're going to go on it, just because there's a lot in Game of Thrones to go over.
I will say there's more videos on Game of Thrones talking about Season 8 than anything else in Game of Thrones. Just because of if you know Game of Thrones in any way, even if you don't know Game of Thrones, you know that season.
Everyone knows that the last season was apparently the worst thing that we could have ever gotten.
It was worse than the coming of the Antichrist. It was worse than the 2016, 2020, and probably coming 2024 election. So let's talk about the first season of House of the Dragon.
Yeah.
So this is just a personal opinion of mine, and I know this. I don't know if this is a hot topic or not, but I personally enjoy House of Dragon more than I do Game of Thrones. I'm not saying that as a diss on Game of Thrones. I just like it better.
So you said hot topic, so I thought you were going to talk about they're going to talk about the
emo
store.
Girls.
He meant hot take. Okay. Which that is kind of a hot take. I cannot lie. It depends on what Game of Thrones you're talking about. I definitely think that the first season of House of the Dragon is better than Game of Thrones seasons 5 onward.
Yeah.
But the first 4 seasons of Game of Thrones is just peak television.
Oh yeah, I agree.
I don't think House of the Dragon is a better series, and than the first 4 seasons of Game of Thrones. Now, granted, we're comparing 4 of the best seasons ever on TV versus one season. So there's not enough of House of the Dragon for me to really say if it's definitively better or not. But from what I've seen, I don't think it's better yet.
No, I'm not going to sit here and say that any individual episode in House of Dragon Season 1 is better than the Tyrion trial in Season 4 or the Siege on the Wall with Jon Snow and all of those guys fighting, not the White Walkers, but what are they called again?
It was the Wildlings.
The Wildlings,
but they call
yeah,
themselves the Free Folk.
The Free Folk. Yeah, we'll call them the Wildlings. But no, like if I'm going to say that any of those, if I'm going to say that any of the House of Dragon episodes is better than those, I can't personally say that, to be honest with you, because I do think Game of Thrones is phenomenal, but what it's trying to do. But you got to admit that both these seasons are doing two different things, or both those shows are doing two different things. House of Dragon is laser focused on one family, and Game of Thrones is focused on this big sweeping epic, because you have the story of Tyrion and Jon Snow and Daenerys Targaryen, which is taking place on a completely different continent, and you have all these other stories. With House of Dragon, it's not that this is better or worse, it's just something that I kind of appreciate a little more, and something that pushes me a little forward towards the series. I just think that House of Dragons is a really good idea. This episode is sponsored by Takis, by the way. We're going to have a few sponsors on this episode.
It's not, but whatever.
You know, reach us out in the comments, Takis, if you want to have a sponsorship. But no, like, I like the fact that it lasers in on one family and it's laser focused on the Targaryens. That's the only. It's not the only reason, but that's one of the main reasons. And I'm not going to say that it's better than Game of Thrones yet, because, and to be fair, it doesn't have a leg to stretch on yet. We only got one season, and there's supposed to be 4 other seasons that are going to come out.
Though it is a good season.
So, what are your main thoughts? Because I haven't really talked to you about your whole thoughts of the series.
Yeah, I think going into the show, I was so burned by the last season of Game of Thrones that I was going into it not, super excited. And also, I do think the trailers for House of the Dragon were not very good.
Oh no, I was not actually excited to see this.
Yeah, maybe we'll do better on the trailers. I haven't seen any of the second season trailers, so I don't know if they did improve on their trailers. But yeah, the trailers for House of the Dragon were not good. So it was making me think, man, it's probably gonna be really bad. It's just gonna be more of season 7, season 8. But I was pleasantly surprised. In fact, it is good. I do think it is legitimately a good show. I think the characters, while I don't like the characters as much as I love the Game of Thrones cast, I will say it is more than just a competent cast. There are some really standout performances. My favorite character, hands down, in House of the Dragon is probably Viserys.
Oh, heck yeah.
It is just the best performance.
He's the main character if there was a main character in this first season. Now, you can say, like, Rhaenyra is the main character. On a technicality, on the Dance of the Dragons, yes, she is the main character. But I will say for a vast majority of this show, I feel like Viserys really has more of an emotional connection to everybody. And
I do think the political scheming is kind of like back to form, basically. I don't think it's necessarily as good as what we got in the first 4 seasons, but I do think it's getting there.
Yeah, we didn't get a scene with Tyrion like interviewing everybody and having a different interview with everybody.
2, that was well played by him. But yeah, I do enjoy. Again, Viserys is my favorite character. However, I do think like Otto Hightower is a standout. He's good. Like a lot. I know some people were, before I even saw the show, people were like, "Yeah, he's basically like the Tywin Lannister for House of the Dragon." I can kind of see where people are coming from, but he's very different.
He's more of the Varys. I think he's more Varys than anything.
Maybe like from the whole Good of the Realm thing, but.
I don't even think it's necessarily good of the realm. Otto Hightower is definitely about advancing his own interests.
Oh, for sure.
But I do think that you can't say one thing and have that be a definitive thing about every Game of Thrones character, because take Otto Hightower for example. Yes, he is advancing his own interests. He's putting his daughter as the queen. He's putting his daughter in a position to be the queen. That's 100% his own interest and to advance his own house, 100%. But at the same time, you can't say that he has no love for the king. He has love for the king. He has served him for this many years, and he does love his daughter, even if a lot of that stuff is kind of like iffy, and especially what he does to her quite a bit of the time is like...
Otto's not a good dad.
No, he's a terrible dad.
Well, and that also goes for Alicent as well. She's a terrible mother. She's not a good mother.
Oh no! Like none of these guys, none of these characters are like good parenting. That's like the whole thing. Actually, like everybody sucks as a parent.
No, actually, I think Rhaenyra is actually probably because when she decided to move to Dragonstone, which by the way was not a good political move at all. Terrible move on her part.
Oh yeah, you look guilty as crap. Yeah.
But it allowed her children to grow into respectable individuals. Yes. Actually, which I like to go into more on that a bit later. I kind of want to just talk about.
You want to go from the beginning, season episode 1?
Let's do kind of how we did the Hazbin Hotel episode.
Let's do it.
How we tried to do it.
Yes.
But yeah, no, I think standout performances. I think Viserys is the best character. Otto is a standout. I forget his name now, just because it's kind of hard to remember the names for
Daemon.
This huge cast. No, not Daemon. Daemon's pretty good too, though. Actually, but I'm talking about. Guy with the fucked up foot, with the foot fetish, guy with the cane.
Oh, that guy. I always forget his name too.
Last name Strong, I think.
Yeah, he was part of the Strong family before
Yeah.
By the way, we're gonna be spoiling the crap out of this.
Yes,
so if you
spoilers ahead.
Yeah. By the way, 3, 2, 1. He kills his father and brother.
Yeah, that. I think overall he's a good character, except I think the foot fetish was kind of weird.
Oh man, he's related to Rhaenyra now that I think about it. Because technically, though, her kids were the Strong kids, and he's part of the Strong family. That's weird.
Yeah,
that's kind of weird. Let's go talk about episode 1 real quick.
Yeah, we can talk about episode 1. I think episode 1 is people were telling me that it was a very weak first episode. A lot of people were telling me, a lot of people were like, which is the reason why I hadn't seen it. And like, I waited so long to see it was because people were telling me this first episode is garbage. You're not gonna like it. Blah 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 blah. And I'm like, oh okay, like why is a lot of times it's really just like it's a lot of shock factor for the sake of shock factor. I'm like,
oh, not at all.
I see. But yeah, no, I think it's a solid first episode. My biggest problem with the first episode is kind of like some of the, I think, character reactions to things where I think it doesn't fit. And by that, I mean, one example that kind of took me out of it a bit, but not nearly enough for me to like, I think the show was god awful or get me like completely ruined the scene. But when during the tourney, the tournament, when Daemon is now out on the field and he's choosing his first opponent, he chooses Otto's firstborn son.
Yeah,
I think,
firstborn
right?
son. Yeah,
and the reaction from Otto, because here's the thing: Daemon Targaryen and Otto Hightower fucking hate each other.
Oh,
they do not like each other whatsoever. And when Daemon chooses Otto's kid to be his first opponent, Otto's reaction is just to roll his eyes like, oh, how childish. My thing is like, bruh, if anything, he should be tense. He should be concerned because this is an opportunity for Daemon to just injure, if not potentially kill accidentally.
Yeah. Because we do see that happens quite a bit in the tournaments.
You see that people are just fucking die in tournaments, okay? Yeah. Which, when people were just killing each other during the tournament, my first kind of like reaction I saw was like, I mean, it's a little silly, but at the same time, it's like when you kind of look back into history, like shit like that did happen.
Oh yeah.
Just because people were kind of more barbaric in nature.
I mean, they were fight to the death tournaments automatically. Like this wasn't necessarily a fight to the death tournament.
No, it shouldn't.
But like, I don't think people would roll an eye if they saw, because the crowd loves it.
Yeah,
the crowd loves the death.
But I do like the groundwork that the first episode kind of gives us. I mean, it really establishes the characters well. I mean, I kind of already have a good kind of grasp on like Otto as a character, right? Yeah. And I like what they do with Daemon. As like Daemon, he's just like he's seen as just a piece of shit, right? Like he's just like he's the villain. Like you're supposed to hate him, like how you're supposed to hate Joffrey. But honestly, as the show progresses, I mean, Daemon does get more depth. He has more layers to it.
100%. That's one of the good things that House of Dragon does that Game of Thrones also does very well. Mm-hmm. They present you the most reprehensible person. Jaime, in the first episode of Game of Thrones, he was a turd. You knew that he had something to do with Jon Arryn's death. He was banging his sister, and in that same scene, he pushed an innocent kid off a window wanting to kill him. That's the character that we all end up loving somewhat near the end. Jaime has such a redemption arc.
And also, I like, Rhaenyra is just a brat in the first episode.
Yeah.
She really is.
That's one of the things that bugs me about young Rhaenyra a lot. Like, she was...
Is it Rhaenyra or is it Rhaenyra?
Rhaenyra. She was aggressively, and in many scenes, unlikable. As young Rhaenyra.
Yeah.
Gosh, she is a brat.
Yeah.
And like in a lot of ways, it's understandable. I understand it. And like, but some scenes, it's just like
She's
She's
just
not even
insufferable. She's just insufferable in a lot of times. Unlike her friend Alicent. What at the beginning of the show? What a fucking sweetheart!
What an angel this person is.
I feel so bad for her.
She's such a sweet. Oh my gosh, dude! Allison gets such a bad hand. And look, here's the thing: she's
probably dealt like the second worst hand.
The worst hand.
Second worst.
Arguably the worst hand, but like we can get into that later.
I think Viserys was dealt the worst hand.
Viserys, well, at least
he was.
I can't say that.
Not only was he physically falling apart,
yes,
but he was just mentally falling apart.
Bro looks like Joe Biden now. It's rough.
I'm sorry. I will say he looks probably worse than Joe Biden.
Yeah, well, near the end, he definitely looks worse than Joe Biden.
But first episode. Yeah. But yeah, I think they did a really good job establishing the characters, kind of showing us already some of the political strifes that the characters are kind of going through. I mean, because like Corlys that's how you pronounce
Corlys Velaryon, yeah.
Corlys Velaryon.
He's a sea snake.
Yeah. Also, good performance by him. I think the character is pretty good. Kind of weird that they changed the Velaryon skin color from white to black, apparently. Yeah,
in the books it was white, but like in this one's black. I mean, that's one of the things that it's not a race change for the sake of like a political thing. Like I understand, like it's not a bother thing for me. To be honest with you.
Because the main issue I have with it is, and again, it's in service of the plot where like in the books I'd imagine that the whole Babe, should I just go into this when we get to actually the episode 5?
Yeah, because that's where it really plays.
I'm about to talk about the children.
Because that's where I think the race change really helps this episode. I think it really. Okay, let's talk about that when we get to episode 5. Let's talk about if you don't have anything else to add.
Yeah, what did you like about episode 1? What did you potentially not
I
like?
loved the fact that it was such a great introduction to Game of Thrones because I saw House of Dragon first, and I never saw Game of Thrones because of the no wait, I take that back. That's a wrong history. I saw Game of Thrones first. That's entirely wrong.
Okay.
But I did see, and like to be quick spoiler, I did not hate season 8, but also I wasn't around when season 8 was such built up. Anyway, regardless of that, it was such a great introduction back into the world of Westeros. Like the first big thing that you see from the actual show, other than just the flashback of who's being kinged and whatever, is just Rhaenyra riding her dragon through King's Landing, and it is majestic, and you hear the music, and it's fantastic. And a lot of the shots earlier on are just like reintroduction shots of what we saw in Game of Thrones. But this is like heyday Targaryen. Targaryens are at their prime, and they are showing you they're at their prime. It's dragons everywhere. There's a lot of weird paintings of orgies on the wall. Like it's Targaryen dynasty right there.
One of the things I liked about the introduction with her flying across King's Landing is that it's really good contrast to season 8 when Daenerys was flying over King's Landing.
Yeah,
because in King's Landing, this is like an impending doom.
Yes.
Right? But in House of the Dragon, it's just the norm.
Yeah, no
one's freaking out seeing a dragon because in King's Landing, it's like, oh, the princess or someone is just flying like
100%.
And I think that's cool.
Sunfire is a great design, and like let's get we'll get into that in a bit. But like the best designed dragon, Caraxes, awesome. We'll get to that in a bit.
Oh yeah, the dragon designs are really cool. Oh, they're really cool actually. Like, because in Game of Thrones, they're kind of boring. Like Drogon's the only one that has like bit more like majesty towards him.
Yeah,
the other two are just kind of forgotten.
They're kind of the same design but worse.
But I love going back to kind of the politics though. I love that when Corlys is bringing up the I think because he brings up the
stepstones.
The stepstones. Thank you. If you help me with some of the names of places, just because
you're good.
I'm not really good when it comes to some of the areas.
Just to clarify, I've actually read The Dance with Dragons, and
I've only seen the show the one time.
Yeah, so I actually know what happens to these characters. I will not be spoiling what happens outside of season 1. So just to clarify,
he'll try.
I will try not to.
And he'll probably edit it out if he.
If I say anything, I'll try and like bleep myself.
But I like that that scene with the council meeting. It really shows Viserys is prone to like not wanting to engage in violence.
Yeah, no conflict.
Hence why he's Viserys the peaceful.
Yeah, which is a good thing, but also like that comes with its own issues because the council does like know that he is weak and. Daemon's right when he says that later on. Like, they do prey upon you for their own needs.
I love that. If you really think about it, Daemon would have been the best Hand of the King for Viserys. He, like, other than maybe the father of the Strong family, because he's actually I forget his name now. Was it like Jorl?
I don't remember his name either.
Something like that.
He's one of the Strongs.
Yeah, but like he is a way better Hand of the King than Otto is, by the way. When it comes to giving unbiased advice.
Yes.
Like he's actually in service of the realm and to Viserys.
100%. And Daemon, to a degree, because I don't think fully would have been, because I think Daemon is selfish, but to agree, he would have protected Viserys from himself, because regardless of Daemon's flaws, he is a very, like, aggressive character. And he would have, like, that's one of the things that he knows Viserys is not. Viserys is not aggressive. He avoids conflict, and which is, again, later on, one of the issues why the Dance of Dragons begins is because Viserys just did not want conflict. And he wanted peace, which is not a bad thing to pursue, but it does result in conflict.
But, I think the reason why Daemon would have been among the, like, he would have at least been a better Hand of the King than Otto was because even though Daemon does have aspirations like towards the throne, I think it's mostly like he just wants. I wouldn't be surprised if he really just wanted the recognition from Viserys and to like. I think that was the big thing, and for Daemon, the most important thing or one of the most important things to him is family and protecting his family.
100%.
And I think as Hand of the King, he would have protected Varys not only from people who would try to manipulate him, but also from himself.
100%.
And I think that's why Daemon is what would have been the best Hand of the King, but you can argue that Jorl or the head of the Strong family would have been, it might be a better Hand of the King, just because not only does he give unbiased advice to Viserys, but like he actually doesn't do any power grabbing.
Wait, who doesn't do any power grabbing?
The head of the Strong family.
Yeah, you're right. No, he's very unbiased.
Everything he has done has been in service of the kingdom of Westeros and for Viserys.
Yep.
Like
he gives his unbiased opinion in episode 3.
There's even a scene where Viserys was like, "Oh, let me guess, you want my daughter to marry your son or whatever?" And he's like, "No, sir. Like that's like a terrible that would be a terrible move on your part.
Yeah.
Like when it comes to politics, I'm just gonna give you the same advice I gave to you when I said you should marry the daughter of the Vhagar family,
who is about 10 years old and is creepy as crap.
I think she's actually 12.
It might be 12, but like, dude, she's so young.
Apparently 14 is the legal age.
Yes, 14 is legal age. Yeah, when if she bleeds, she breeds. So it's rough.
Hey, he said it, not me.
Listen, that's what do you want me to say? That's what happens in Game of Thrones. That's exactly what happens. I'm just saying, it's rough. Yeah. It is a rough world.
But no, I think season 1 does a lot. It does a lot right.
Yeah,
it does a lot right.
Episode 2, real quick. This is just going into my personal concerns with some fandoms. So Rhaenyra and Daemon. Listen, I understand that this is a complex world. There are a lot of complex things that happens. I'm rooting for them for the future. I'm rooting for them to kick butt, even though I know what happens in the future. Y'all gotta stop with the fandom art with Daemon and Rhaenyra. They are related. Stop it. They are tonguing and they be related. Those are some dumb kids they producing.
I mean, I get it. I personally would not. I know, like, I personally do not subscribe to it. But I mean, you can't really stop people from doing what they want to do.
Yeah.
Like, and also there's worse shit. There's worse shit.
There's very worse.
There's worse shit people could be drawing.
Yes.
Okay. Like, look.
Anakin and Ahsoka.
I mean, at least
if I see another one, I will burn this place to the ground.
I mean,
it's gross, man. Look, I look, and I know the lore reason why. I know the Targaryens do that, and that Aegon the Conqueror actually married both his freaking sisters. But man, I get it, and for the story, it works. I understand. I get it. I'm not stopping that. But at the same time,
I will say,
stop it.
I will say, I don't think people should be gushing about it. I don't think you should not be gushing when an uncle decides to engage in activities that of the sexual variety with his niece. Nor should you be. Like I don't think that's something you should be advocating.
Ding 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 ding. Alabama.
As for the fan art, like again, I don't agree with it, but like you do you, I guess. But that's not something we should be advocating.
Just make a body pillow. I'll have one side Daemon, the other side Rhaenyra, and you can choose.
No, I think people want one side to be them fully clothed, and the other side is them fully nude. Making out.
Yes, okay.
Pretty sure that's what people would want.
Yeah, that makes sense.
No one would buy one where it's just one fully clothed, and on the other side is the other fully clothed.
Bunch of weirdos out there, man. I'm just saying.
I mean, yeah. I mean, look, I'm an anime fan. Okay, like I've seen it all. I've seen some terrible things.
I've seen some things.
Okay, look, I've told him this. I've told him and Liam. This one very awful hentai I was forced to watch.
No.
I'm not going into detail again. But let's just say that was probably one of the most degenerate shit I've ever seen. I to this day it haunts my nightmares.
That'll
my
not
dreams.
only get us demonetized, the FBI will come knocking at our door.
It's bad.
So
okay. Look, if you really want to know more about it, hey, just hit me up in my DMs, okay?
Check out our OnlyFans.
Well, no, only Charles is.
Sorry, only Charles. We'll have you in for like a cameo episode.
No, we would lose subscribers.
We'll have your voice in because you have a good voice.
Wow,
just looking at you is hard.
Oh, I'm sad now.
This episode is sponsored by Takis.
They're good.
Episode 2, that's the episode where Rhaenyra visits Daemon at Dragonstone to get the egg. I mean, stuff happens in this episode. I just want to reiterate, like, I don't think that the performance of the person who plays Rhaenyra, which I guess she's also playing Supergirl now, which cool. I don't think the performance of Rhaenyra is bad. I think elements of her character and the way they characterize her in the younger years is a little more infuriating than they do in the older years, because in many scenes I understand that she's a teenage girl, I understand that she's hormonal, I understand that all of this stuff, but goodness gracious, can she stop being such a brat for 5 seconds sometimes? And I love this show, but for good love of Mike, Rhaenyra,
if anything, it just makes her more her maturity in the second half of the show feel more worth it, I guess.
Oh yeah.
At least that's how that's my takeaway from it. I personally don't have the most to say about episode 2 because, like, when it came to like fighting the pirates, at the Stepstones or whatever.
Yeah, there was nothing that happened in that
honestly,
episode.
I'm not gonna lie, the fighting was kind of boring to me.
Oh, the episode 2 doesn't have the pirates yet. That's episode 3.
I thought isn't episode 2 when they fight?
No, episode 2 is where Rhaenyra meets Daemon at Dragonstone. And then they have a disagreement, and then Daemon ends up giving her.
Maybe it is episode 3.
So episode 3. Oh man, I'm getting confused. Hold up, I'm gonna pull this up real quick.
I don't know. I could be wrong.
Myself.
But now, since I'm talking about the actual fighting, I think the action scenes overall are just not as good as the stuff I've seen on Game of Thrones.
Okay.
I don't know. I didn't have a lot of interest in it. Like also when not Viserys, when Daemon was making a run for.
Yeah, episode 3 was the fighting.
Okay, well, I'm already on it. When Daemon was running for the crab dude, king dude, whatever.
Oh yeah, they just didn't show the fight.
Well, I don't care about that because it was foregone conclusion that Daemon was going to win a fight.
Yeah, sure.
That would have just been bloat. But like him, like one man charging through all those guys.
Oh, I loved that. You didn't like that? And
dodging air. Like for me, it was the same problem I had with the season 8 fight against the Night King and his White Walkers and the Army of the Undead. It's just I'm watching like there's a lot of plot armor going on. Now, granted, at least he actually does get hit by some arrows and he's actually like fatigued. But like I couldn't help but notice like only those amount of arrows hit him.
Yeah.
Are they that bad at shooting?
Which, like, to be fair, you're not really aiming. You're having a volley. Like, a volley of arrows in a general direction that you don't even know if he's going to be in.
You'd think a volley would, like, hit him more than just a few times.
There's, like, 12 people. If there were, like, 30 people, that would be a little harder. But like 12
I have to rewatch the fight. All I know is that, like, again, I'm not saying this is like a huge blow to the episode.
Yeah.
I just it made me think of episode 3 in season 8 with the battle against the undead.
Yeah.
Because that's a shitty battle, by the way. I hated that entire.
I'll actually get into detail about why I actually like that episode later, but we'll continue.
Oh God. This. Okay. Well, sure. But look, episode 2. So I guess episode 2. Then because I remember. Yeah, I definitely remember the face-off at Dragonstone. I remember that clearly. I'm trying to remember any of the other stuff that happened. I mean, I know Alicent was probably trying to get closer with Viserys. Probably during episode 2, because that his wife died at the end of 1.
I'm trying to remember. Is episode 2 the one where Viserys is the one who engages to Alicent at the very end?
No, that wasn't episode 2. I think that was like 4.
Oh,
that was like,
wait a minute. No, wait a minute. It is because episode 2. Because after Viserys marries Alicent, or says that he's going to marry Alicent, the Sea Snake goes to Daemon and says, "Hey, we're gonna form our own war."
Right. You're absolutely right.
So that was episode 2, and then episode 3, that's the fighting.
See, this is why I need him. I've
seen this 5
for
times.
For me, again, it's because. Again, when I watch the whole thing in one sitting, I watched it all in one sitting. I'm sorry, it kind of blends together.
No, you're good. But anyway, episode 3 was the fighting. Let's talk about the scene that happens before the fighting, which was the festival when Aegon, not Aegon's birthday, but the new one. Viserys at this point has 2 kids with Alicent.
Yeah,
and
Aegon is his firstborn son.
Aegon's firstborn son, and then at that point,
they were celebrating his second name day.
Second name day. Because he is now he's now technically by law the heir, but even though that happened, Viserys still said that, "Hey, Rhaenyra is my heir."
Yep.
Mm-hmm. But people are like, now that there's a guy, we're going to be... This is where like the sexism actually does play a good factor into this, because Game of Thrones does like detract women aggressively in this world, and so this is where like many episodes and many like modern day stuff where like the sexism and like this is so forced. This makes so much sense.
It works here for sure, right? Like when someone's berating, a woman because she's a woman, like I'm not like oh whatever, like social justice, like trying to make a point or whatever. It makes sense in the context
100%.
of the Game of Thrones series and in this show. Okay, now that I'm kind of remembering, this is a lot of it was like Aegon's second name day. One thing I really liked was, oh my God, Rhaenyra,
yeah.
When Rhaenyra is the whole time, she is thinking that like her place is gone. Like she's not, like she truly believes that she's not going to be the heir to the throne anymore.
Gosh, yeah.
I mean, she was kind of annoying about it, but I get it. Like, but like here, my thing is,
like it is like that's Viserys' fault because he's not being clear to her. Like, you're still my heir, dude.
Yeah, but well, and to be fair to to try and be Viserys, or Viserys. God, all the names are just fucking. Oh.
It's a lot of them. By the way, there's a lot of characters that are named the same as other characters.
Fucking stupid.
It's infuriating.
Oh God. But it kind of makes sense because Viserys is just for a long time. He's a king first before he is a father, which is kind of sad, but it's just kind of the truth. And like also like with the death of his wife, like. That like she left a void in his life that will never actually be filled, because Alicent certainly did not fill the void in his heart.
No,
like he does care for Alicent.
Yes,
but his first wife, her name being something.
Wife number one.
Like she is like she was basically like the most important person other than Rhaenyra.
Yeah. Oh, and just talk about like that birth scene and death scene of his wife. That is so
very brutal,
painful to watch.
Yeah. I a lot of people. I know, like you thought he was a piece of shit for wanting to tear the baby out of her stomach, right? I thought the point though was that like either way she was gonna die, right?
I think they made that pretty clear.
Yeah, they made it pretty clear that either both die or the baby might survive.
Yeah, that's the only option.
And Viserys is like, shit.
Yeah.
Shit. But man, it was cruel the way they Like
Yeah.
it was pretty. Like him trying to calm her down and like make her feel at ease was just like, oh, I'm sorry, man. There's no making her feel at ease with that.
Shut a knife in your stomach. Ooh. I mean, at that point, to be fair, I'm not trying to like defend that necessarily, but like Viserys is in a king position. You have to think of the better good, and Viserys is a king that is thinking of the greater good, the better good, the greater good in this scenario, and he's trying
the better good.
Brought to you by the Couch Gamer Podcast. This episode is sponsored by Talkies. Anyway, moving on.
He's really on that.
I'm really on that. I really want to get a sponsorship. Let's get that going, Talkies. I really think that Viserys is just trying his best to protect the realm. And again, when that's a problem, it's a problem later on because he's trying to unite his family that doesn't want to be united and not addressing the issue. But I understand why he wants a male heir because, to be fair, the realm itself is going to accept a male heir before they accept Rhaenyra.
Well, yeah. I mean, like, to ascend the throne, like, they're going to accept a firstborn male over any other. Like, I mean, because even when they accepted Viserys as king, God, she has almost the same name as Rhaenyra.
Yep. Rhaenys.
Rhaenys was like obviously like she was the queen that never was. She was a way better candidate. Not only because like she was closer when it came to blood or whatever.
Yeah.
But also in temperament. Like,
oh yeah,
she would have been an incredible queen.
She would have been amazing.
Yeah,
and imagine like Corlys being her like king consort.
Oh god,
and, like that would have been such a great kingship right there. That's great.
Now to be fair though, again Viserys he did do a bang up job though for the most part.
No, he was Viserys the Peaceful. To be fair, and also Viserys is coming like on like the tail end of like the Targaryen dynasty. He is king technically at the peak of the Targaryen dynasty, and he's ruling over a peaceful land. To be fair.
But yeah, I think I do like how also Viserys is behind the scenes trying to give his daughter like a good match for her to like marry someone or whatever.
Trying his freaking best.
And like with the Lannister trying to hit on her, he stood he didn't stand a chance.
Bro, they made that guy the most unlikable character of all time, and there's a bunch of unlikable characters in this.
Man,
let's go to episode.
Remember when Lannisters were like the best characters?
Oh yeah, freaking! We had Tywin Lannister, not even bringing Tyrion Lannister because Tyrion Lannister is amazing, but Tywin's Lannister, one of the best antagonists of all time.
Tywin's the best character in this entire fucking series.
Oh gosh, he's so great. He's so great.
But
anyway, let's move on to episode 4. Are you good?
Oh, I still had some points.
Oh, sure, go ahead.
So, but like I love that when the Lannister was basically. When we was giving the spear to Viserys, he was like, basically inferring that like, oh, she will have a place at Castle Rock, and and then he's like, what do you mean? He's just like, well, I mean, because you have your son who's gonna be the king, and Viserys like, no, nay, no. She is my heir.
Yeah.
Right? Why would she need to go to like this? You're making no sense. It's
disgusting.
And I love that he's staunchly defending his daughter's claim.
Yes.
And even though he had the easy way out of just naming Aegon to be his new heir.
Yeah, he stands by her and said like, no, like which is again, it is his fault that he's not telling her that. He should be able to clarify that to her, but also like the fact that he's doing it again.
But that's one of his flaws is that he himself is a type of person who does not like confrontation until he must engage in it.
Yeah.
Right. Very much unlike his brother Daemon, who is all about confrontation.
Goodness gracious.
But I will say my favorite thing with that episode, now that I'm really remembering it. So they keep referencing a white stag during the hunt for Aegon, his firstborn son. And Viserys is the type of person who is really into prophecies and superstitions and all that stuff, right? And when he is told that like there's the white stag that was found, right? And it just so happens to be on his son's second name day, right? And the white stag is, symbolizes, what royalty was, right? Before dragons were the symbol of royalty.
Yeah.
And basically it's as if the world keeps telling Viserys that, like, your son is like he must be your heir.
Yeah.
Right? Like that those, like, all signs are pointing to Aegon being the heir to or the next king after he passes. And I think he's scared of that.
Yeah.
Right? In the way and, like, especially, like, when they find the stag and it's not a white stag, it's a normal, like, brown stag, right? What I like is that his kind of turmoil, because I think there's a sense of relief that it wasn't a white stag they caught, meaning that his decision was right.
Yeah.
But I think for quite a few moments, like, he was concerned that his decision to make Rhaenyra his heir was the wrong one.
Yeah.
And I think his relief, it was just palpable when it was just the brown stag, and when he kills it, and I think, like, that for him it confirmed that she would still be his heir. I don't know, like, I thought it was really interesting. I loved that whole thing. So yeah.
And it was also a good quiet moment between Rhaenyra and Cole when they had that little deer. Because, again, a lot of the great moments in the show, and, like, whereas Game of Thrones, the dialogue was one of the greatest parts of Game of Thrones, the silent moments in House of Dragon are really the moments that are my favorites. There are a couple scenes later on where it's there's no talking, there's barely any music going on, and it's just you feel the mood. It's such a mood setting that makes me love this show so much. And it's something like when the white stag just shows itself to Rhaenyra, and, like, it was a good. And again, to be fair, that means two things for the show. It means that at some point the show is choosing Rhaenyra, or the books are choosing Rhaenyra, or the gods or whatever is choosing Rhaenyra, and also it does kind of confirm that Viserys's dreams are correct, because later on Aegon does wear the Conqueror's crown and will have the Conqueror's sword, and it has the Conqueror's name. So his dreams were correct. It's just not quite in the way that he expected.
Not quite in the way that he wanted.
No, not at all. So episode, are you good with that?
I will say one last thing, I promise.
Go ahead. No, you're good. Go ahead.
I do like all of the pent-up frustrations and anger that was, like, in Rhaenyra. She just let loose on that boar.
Oh, just like...
Like, no, like, that was more than just, like, her killing a boar. That was, like, she finally had an outlet.
Yes.
And I thought, fantastic. This is solid. This is solid. I don't feel like the writers are treating me like a moron.
Yeah.
Because in a worse show, in a show that's just not confident, it would have been like, why, like Cole or whatever. Yeah, he would have been like, why are you so aggressive killing that boar? And she's like, she would be like, I was just so angry. I'm tired of it all. And I'm like, oh yes, tell me your feelings. Don't
Yes.
show me. Thank you. Because I'm a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
Thank you.
They don't spell it out at all. And I also, like,
There are some things they do, but
they do spell it out, like, in some areas, but there is a lot of areas where, like, you know what the characters are feeling, but they don't tell you anything, and they either leave you in silence or they don't say what they're feeling, but we all know what they're feeling. This is something the show does really well, and it treats its audience with respect. I also love Rhaenyra's theme. Her theme, da dun 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 da dun. And, like, I love her theme, especially when it gets a little epic later on and the drums start kicking in. It's like, that seems like a royal theme right there. Like, when she's entering in a room or coming back from the killing with blood on her and they're playing her theme, it's like, that's an epic theme right there. And it's a little weird that Mr. Strong character is, like, looking at her like, yeah, because that's the person who ends up, like, ragging her on later and then having kids with her. So it's a little weird, but, like, still pretty awesome.
All right, let's move on.
Episode 4. This is the episode with the content, the uncle and niece content in it.
This
is a great. I love this episode because it shows both sides of Daemon. It shows one side that actually does respect his brother, because this is right after the Stepstones conflict. He could have easily come back and just thrown this in his brother's face. But it shows one side of Daemon that genuinely does love his family, because he kneels to his brother, presents him his crown, and says, like, no, you are my brother. I still accept you as king. And it shows that power isn't the main thing that Daemon wants. It's mostly recognition, either from his brother or from the people, and improving himself. And it's one thing that he kind of got out of his system in the last episode was the proving himself aspect, because he lost to Cole in the jousting tournament. He was ousted from his place and kicked out of Dragonstone. So a lot of this stuff and he's never really got a chance to prove himself, and that's what the Stepstones battle was, is for a chance for him to finally prove himself and to conquer something. And for 3 years that went on, and he couldn't do it. And Viserys sent him reinforcements, and he was like, "No, nope, not doing it." And I'm charging right into battle by myself, a suicide run, just so I can be... He is that stuck up that he's not going to accept reinforcements. He's going to go there and potentially kill himself. Like, it's a 99% chance he dies.
By all rights, he should have died in that battle.
Yes.
But his men did show up, and, you know, that was like the cavalry he needed.
100%.
To then really push forward.
Yeah.
Daemon's in it very... I think Daemon's... He again, standout character. He's probably my top 3 in this show.
Daemon is my favorite character. I think
Viserys
he's
is my favorite.
I completely get it. Viserys is my second favorite.
Yeah.
But again, going back to my point there, I love the fact that you see that he's finally gotten this chance to prove himself, and he's got genuine cred to his name now. Like, Daemon means something. He killed the Crab King. He freed the Stepstones. But he had all that power, and he presented it to Viserys.
Yeah, I think what's really interesting is that I think Daemon is a character who's been set up to fail multiple times.
Oh, yeah.
Actually. No, and here's actually what I mean by anyone who might not understand what I'm kind of getting at. So in episode 1, going back there real quick, so it was kind of established that he took on multiple roles and was not a fit for them, right? Because he took on different stations in the small council, whatever. I think he was master of ships at one point, or he was, going to be master of ships. He was going to be a master of coin, right? I think he was doing that, and then he became captain of the city watch or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. And each time, I think Otto is the one who was like, "Yeah, let Daemon do that," and I think Otto did that knowing that Daemon would fail, because Daemon was not a good fit for any of these roles. Yeah. And I think that kind of goes to show Otto as a character, how he plays the Game of Thrones, where it looks like he's trying to be helpful to Viserys by, saying, "Yeah, let your brother do this." Okay, well, that didn't work. Let your brother do this instead. Let your brother do this. But Otto, again, just knows that, like, he's going to fuck it up, because Daemon he's not fit for any of these roles.
He's playing the long game.
Yes. But then again, like Daemon, like doing what he is really good at, being like a commander, or fighting really, and yeah, like finally Daemon's like, yeah, I can do shit. Like, I mean, I don't know what else I can add to that really, but yeah, no, so it was really cool seeing Daemon succeed in something, and I love how you think Daemon is like. A lot, in the beginning you think, oh, Daemon's like almost like a changed man or whatever, but he's like still deep down, like he's still kind of the same guy, where again he loves his brother, but he will undermine his brother at times, just because he's a little shithead sometimes, or a lot of the time, really.
He will bang his daughter, unfortunately. Well, not quite yet.
No, which again, the level of restraint he had. I was like, wow. Yeah. I fully thought Daemon was just gonna fucking go for it. Yeah. But then when he's like kind of pushed her away and like walked out on her, I was like, oh my god.
Yeah.
I was like, Daemon.
That's the kind of stuff that I like about Daemon's character, where they present him with a scenario where at the beginning and everything we know about his character, you think he would 100% go for it. But then there's that one thing that changes, where he gives up power to his brother, or he runs away from like potentially going worse with Rhaenyra. Like all of those scenarios, like he kind of is the wild card.
Yeah. And
you don't really 100% know what he's going to do or what he's thinking all the time, but you do know that he's always is in conflict with himself.
And then this is also the same episode where Rhaenyra, being a dumb cunt, because she's all sexually frustrated, decides to ruin a man's honor
He did. Kristen Cole did nothing wrong.
No, honestly, Kristen Cole, I think he's kind of a jumbled mess, in a bad way. I think
really?
I couldn't stay, like, once we got to like episode 8 onward, I was just like, I couldn't stand his character.
Oh no.
Anymore. Well, because I understood where they were going, what they were going for, but then in episode 9, kind of jumping forward real quick, when he fucking just sit down and he fucking kills one of the members on the council, I'm like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
What the fuck? So you're just crazy. You're just an asshole now.
I actually I understand where you're coming from 100%, but I slightly disagree with you to the point where I think this is doing two things. And I'm going to be jumping ahead to a few episodes real quick. But it shows that, number one, the characters that we were introduced to at the very beginning, who would you root for at the very beginning? Would you root for Kristen Cole at the very beginning, or would you root for Daemon? No one would root for Daemon at the very beginning, because Daemon's the worst at the very beginning. But near the end, you really want Daemon to just destroy Kristen Cole. You really are rooting for Daemon, and then Kristen Cole is like, look at this simp. So I think that's good for two things. I think it's showing us the change in these two characters. Over time. I think that's a good thing. And I think it's good for another reason. I think that his loyalties and opinions have shifted over time, which there is one thing that I don't like, but I'll get into that in a second. It shows that his unwavering loyalty to Alicent. And the reason that is by all scenarios given by the laws of the land, by what he has said to Alicent, he should be dead. He should be 1,000% dead, because of what he did in other episodes, and because, he freaking slept with the queen. He should, by all accounts, be hung, dishonorably discharged, and executed, by all means, and tortured, by all means. But Alicent, in her kindness, she spared him and saved him because she knew that there's still, like, potential in him or whatever, or just because she's a kind character.
I don't think it was kindness. She saw an opportunity to...
No, older Alicent maybe would have seen an opportunity, but I think younger Alicent has a genuine heart.
But no, but this was the same episode where, like, she was, like, throwing down, like, the gauntlet.
Yeah, but that was only towards Rhaenyra, to no other character, because she has no reason to hate Kristen Cole at all.
I'm not saying she hates Kristen Cole. I'm just saying, like, I think it was less kindness and more like, oh, I see an ally.
Possibly, but at that same time, like, they both know something. And at any point in time, Alicent could have just said it, and it would have ruined Rhaenyra's reputation. Granted, it would also have ruined Kristen Cole's reputation, but if she just wanted to use Kristen Cole like that, then she would have just said it and be gone with it.
I think she also knows that, like, well, what she says wouldn't matter because Viserys would never believe her.
That's true.
Yeah, so what point would there be for her to tell people, like, oh, the Kingsguards slept with Rhaenyra? Viserys would, like, hear none of it.
Yeah.
Right? She just kind of knows that.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
So again, I mean, I'm not saying like she's like super cold-hearted or anything like that. I just think it's less kindness and more like, oh, I see an ally in this man.
Maybe. But even the way they react, I'm so sorry, but even the way they react to each other later on shows that they have a mutual respect for each other, and also there is a fan theory going around that they're definitely like sleeping with each other on the side.
I don't know, maybe. But my problem with what he did in episode 9 was that it's just such a jump.
It is a jump.
Yeah,
and
like,
I could agree with that.
It's just kind of like I felt like it was more like shock factor than anything. Like it, because I think it wasn't.
But that also does happen in the books. To be fair.
I mean, well, then it's still an issue in my eyes.
I can agree that it could have been executed better.
In the books, it probably makes more sense because there's more build up to it.
Yeah.
Because when you're when you're kind of doing a show, because here's the even in the in Game of Thrones, I mean, when it was good, they had to take some things out or they had to gloss over some things. I'm pretty sure. So they probably weren't able to add enough for the jump to make more sense. But also, like, if it was an accident, I'd be like, oh, okay. Like for me, it felt less like an accident and more like fucking sit down and die. Because like even the way like because he literally like bangs his head down.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah, he seems like it is a point to where he's a little too aggressive, and he seems like less of a sympathetic simp and more of a rageful turd.
Yeah, that's like I think he's among the weaker characters overall in this.
He's definitely the
good cast.
I agree. He's definitely the characters that I don't like anymore.
That's not, it's not even about liking the character. It's really just I think he wasn't handled well in the last parts of the show.
Yeah.
But we're on episode 4. Jesus. Fuck. But yeah, so yeah, him and okay. Like I kind of jumping again, but like, dude, like I felt for Cole though, and like the halfway point in the series, like I get that people were probably like, oh man, he's such a shithead. Like, no, I kind of get where he's coming from.
No, yeah,
I can't blame him. Like he literally Rhaenyra wanted to treat him like a fucking whore, basically.
Yeah.
No, I get why he'd be pissed. Like
he tried to say no.
Like basically, he sullied his honor. And it wasn't, and he did, and it wasn't even because like she loved him or anything like that. It was just it was just fun.
Yeah,
it was fun.
Yeah. No, Rhaenyra is definitely at fault in that. She was using her power to get him. Because you're gonna say no to the queen. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do?
Here's here's kind of a weird thing that I found in this series where like maybe not weird, but like it's interesting that she is shown that she would even in her younger years like some of her decision making is quite befit of like a ruling like queen. Mm-hmm. Like even her decision to choose like the Kingsguard, right? To choose Cole to be in the Kingsguard, like her logic was sound. She didn't do it for politics. She's like, oh, he's the only person who's seen real combat.
100%.
Oh yeah, then pick him. And then Otto's like, oh well, princess, like it's a better political move if we choose one of these like other members because they're part of like great houses. And she's like, I don't care. And I'm like, wow. And I think deep down he's just like, damn, she's good. He's just like, damn, if only she was born a man. But yeah, I think Rhaenyra's a hormonal teenager who kind of fucked up big time that had like long-term consequences for that decision, which I dig it. That's cool.
And I'm happy that they show, because this show could have easily just been like the feminist wet dream, but they very much show that Rhaenyra is a flawed character. And again, to contrast that aggressively, who she is later on, which is a good leader. And I do think that she is a very good leader later on. She's a very mature person who loves her children, who is maybe not thinking the most politically savvy and doing the correct decisions all the time, but she's definitely a good leader who has her people and intentions. Her intentions are good at heart. Where I think that she is very selfish and very bratty earlier on.
Yeah. I think one slight issue I kind of run into with the second half of the series when they all age up is I feel like, at least from the intention, or what I think the intention was from the showrunners, is it quite a few times it really seems like that Rhaenyra and her side of this conflict are painted better with a more sympathetic light than the other side.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like it really does seem like this does seem more like a good versus evil thing. That I'm not saying that like Alicent is just an evil person. I'm not saying that, but sometimes it feels like it kind of devolves into a good versus evil kind of thing. Yep. Just because like Otto he's just more and more of a shithead. Cole, more and more of a shithead. Mm-hmm. Alicent, less so, but man, she's kind of a shithead at times. She's getting there. Her sons are major shitheads. Oh my god.
And to be fair with that, I agree completely where you're coming from. The only people that I would see on Alicent's side that are pure villains are Kristen Cole, and then Aegon. And other than that, I think the other ones I think everyone has a very understandable motivation.
Yeah, again, that's and
even Aegon does, but he's a bad motivation.
My point is not saying that they're pure evil.
Yeah.
Like they're not pure evil, but it does seem like this is kind of devolving into a pseudo good versus evil, where you're supposed to root for one side over the other, right? And for me, like you could argue that, like, well, Tywin is someone that you should never root for. Actually, if you think about it, Tywin, when he was alive, like, after Robert Baratheon's death, like, Tywin was the last person who kept the realm stable. He really was.
Yeah, but at the point, like, you can never say that he is truly the good guy. At no point I would ever say that about Tywin.
No. But there are times it's like, I kind of am rooting for Tywin because I just know that, like, when Tywin dies, like, what happens? Everything gets fucked.
Yes, but at the same time,
literally everything got fucked.
You're right, but also Joffrey was on that side, and no one is saying that Joffrey was anything but pure evil.
No, but Tywin is the one who, like,
kept him under control,
reined him in. Could you imagine Joffrey not having Tywin? Like, we already kind of can, actually.
Yeah.
Except no, because Tyrion was the one.
Tyrion was still there.
Tyrion was the one who was reining him in.
Yeah.
We do not get a long-term rule from Joffrey without someone smart and capable fucking reining him in.
Because goodness gracious, he would destroy everything.
And, like, I don't know. But again, like, obviously, like, yes, you know, perhaps my statement is incorrect because obviously people are going to root for Starks over Lannisters.
Yeah.
As a whole. But I do feel as if, like, Tyrion and Tywin were, like, especially Tywin, were necessities. Like, they needed to be alive.
Yeah.
Otto, you kill him off, right? If anything, that's kind of a boon overall, man. Alicent's happier. You know, she's going to be depressed in the first couple of years. But, like, without Otto grooming her to be, you know, to bed Viserys and basically have her outlook to be where children should just be useful.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, Otto is really the only person that she can other than Kristen Cole, like, genuinely talk to. He does help Alicent quite a bit, even though that they are, and the ninth episode, technically somewhat rivals. Like, they are still on the same side, and he is still her father.
Yes, but Otto is the reason why is the cat, like, no, he is the reason why her life sucks.
Agree.
Like, he is the reason. But, like, I'm not saying she doesn't love her dad or that he doesn't love her, but he is the reason why her life is terrible. Okay, like,
she is in a pretty bad position near the end.
Okay, like, holy shit. Fuck. But no, I don't know. Perhaps I'm wrong to say it's, you know, it's devolving into, or that's a bad thing, that it seems like it's more of a good versus evil thing. But I just feel like even on the Lannister side in Game of Thrones proper, I mean, I felt like there seem to be more layers. Like Cersei, she is just a mythic bitch. But, you know, one redeeming thing about her? She loves her children. She loves her children. Is she the best mom? No. But she genuinely loves her children. And it's like, yeah. Like, you can feel bad. Like, even I feel bad for Cersei when she loses a child.
Yeah.
Like, you're wrong. When Joffrey died, I was like, yeah, fuck him. But then when she's, like, crying, like, you know, like, in despair, I'm like, oh, I feel for you, Cersei, but he is a piece of shit.
And then they messed it up when Tommen died, and she had no reaction whatsoever. Thanks, Game of Thrones, for that a lot. No, I here's the thing. I think that Game of Thrones and House of Dragon do the same thing. I think that one side is obviously being pushed as the hero. You can say the Starks or the Targaryens on the first Game of Thrones, and then the Targaryens again versus the Greens in the last episode. I think that's obvious. There's always going to be a push for one side for the show, but I think that what Game of Thrones does better than most shows is it shows the sides of all characters.
I actually think the way I should have phrased it, now I'm really thinking about it, is I feel like the opposing side in Game of Thrones has more layers than the opposing side in House of the Dragon. Right? Okay. But again, we're comparing 4 really good seasons of Game of Thrones versus the 1 season that House of the Dragon has.
Yeah, and that's what I say. That's where I really want the rest of House of Dragon to continue on, because as much as I love House of Dragon, it's not a complete story yet.
No,
and
of course not.
And I really want those next 2 seasons or next few seasons to be good, because it has the potential.
there's gonna be 3 seasons total?
There's going to be 4 or 3 more seasons, because I think George R. R. Martin said originally the story could last 4 seasons long. I think there's going to be 5 seasons in total.
Last time he said something where Game of Thrones could last up to 13, 14 seasons.
Yeah.
That didn't pan out.
Didn't happen quite as much, but Dan and Dave are out of that nonsense. So,
fuck those guys.
yeah, on the topic, why don't we go and move on to episode 6, since we already talked about episode 5 a little bit. Wait, hold on.
Because episode 5, there are things we didn't talk about. We were on episode 4.
Sorry, Yeah, we were. Episode 5 is the wedding. Episode 5 is.
Which that's a good one, by the way.
Oh man.
With one issue I do have, kinda.
I probably have the same issue as you, but no, You know what? Go ahead.
So I think overall, another pretty good episode. I do think, however, that they're in the actual wedding when Cole fucking smashes that guy's face in. I kind of needed a scene, if not in that episode, then maybe. Well, no, because episode 6 is the time jump. I needed a scene where he's actually going to be like in trouble.
Yeah.
Because I get nothing. I'm like, so he's just forgiven for killing someone. Why didn't I get something where like Allison was like, no, he was defending the princess's honor, or just something. I needed something, and people are like, well, you can infer that happened. No, nay. I need to see this happen,
especially because the next episode is a jump in years, and we're missing so much. And honestly, you know what I would have preferred than a scene of Allison like defending him, which would have been good. It would have been good to see the reason that he's not dead currently. But I would love to see one more reason for him to kill this guy in front of a wedding, because yes, when the guy came up to him and said, "Hey, we share 2 people. Let's keep secrets." Like, in that moment, there's no reason that he could have killed him. Like, you could have just kept secrets. You didn't have to kill him.
There's really not much in the way of antagonizing him.
Exactly. Especially killing him in front of a wedding.
Also, if he had said something along the lines of, like, I know your dirty little secret. One wrong move and, like, your little princess is fucked, basically. Right?
Yeah.
Then maybe then his reaction would have been immediate then, right? But
100%.
no, instead he's like, we both have someone that we're wanting to protect, and he's just simmering on that.
Yeah.
Like I don't get it. Like I don't think that was done very effectively.
Now, I think the reason the showrunners did it the way they did is I rewatched the episode, and I didn't catch this the first time, but I think they were going for this. When Rhaenyra talks to Daemon amidst the dancing, and she tells him, like, okay, you should take me to wife. If you don't want this for me, and if you don't think that I want this, take me to wife and kill the Kingsguard, take me to Dragonstone, and keep me and wed me in the tradition of our house. When she says that, they cut away to the crowd in a mid-wide shot, and when you hear the screaming, I think the intention was they think that Daemon is actually doing it. I think that's what they were trying to do. And then they see Cole is like, oh, it's different. What's going on here? And then you see everything that's happening. So I think that was the original intention, but I don't think that
wasn't done very
there was
well.
any correct build up to that. That's the one thing that I can genuinely say, like, I don't like this element, because number one, it doesn't make sense that Cole would do that, because if he's for protecting his image and protecting his honor, then why would he just kill someone in the middle of a wedding when he's going to lose his honor and lose his image? If that's something that you were protecting in the first place,
well, and also,
why would you want to lose it then?
Well, and also, for people who are like, well, people do irrational things all the time. Okay. I don't have an issue with him literally beating the shit out of someone to death. My problem is that he's not given a sufficient reason to do it.
Yes.
Right? So, which again would just, prove that he's just a jumbled mess, really. Because, like, if that is all it takes for him, like, to break down and fucking kill someone, then he's a deeply disturbed person.
Yes.
Where, like, like, holy shit. Like, I mean, like, maybe that is what they're going for. Maybe, but
it wasn't shown well earlier. You were showing me a completely different character earlier on, and this was the only thing that you showed me of his disturbed mentality. I needed more than that.
Like, if I got more of him just, like, beating the shit out of people
Yes.
and actually killing them, then, like, the thing in episode 9, I'd be like, yeah, that checks out.
Mm-hmm.
Or, like, him, like, getting deeper and deeper into this, like, monster that's hiding beneath, beneath him.
100%.
But, yeah, no, I think that was a flaw. Another thing I like, but also think could have been handled a little bit better, just a little bit better. When Alicent shows up late for the wedding, when she's dressed in green. When she shows up dressed in green, I already got the vibe that like, oh, there's something about her that's like, like El Gaspo, you know? And I was like, oh, it's something to do with her dress or whatever, right?
Yeah. When House Strong at one or House
when High Towers go to war, their banner color or their color is green. You know, what would have been a better way to reveal that? I would have loved in the scene where Alicent and Rhaenyra are doing like lessons or whatever together.
Yeah.
One of the things where like Alicent's like joking, like getting fed up with Rhaenyra is like she just throws like a green fucking like handkerchief or whatever. Just something like, it sounds corny, right?
Yeah.
And Rena's like, oh, are you going to war with me or something? Just something. And instead I get
or maybe she's teaching her about like what are the colors of people going to war, and like they learn about them from the history books, and that's one of the things that gets brought up.
I needed something like that. That probably would have been a bit better. But I was trying to go for like the whole playful like, oh, girls be girls thing,
Yeah.
But then like the youngest, the crippled strong, is like, oh yes, that High Towers, when they're going to war, do you know what color it is or whatever? It's like green. I'm like,
yeah,
thanks, thank you.
To be fair, it gave one of the strong guys more dialogue because he doesn't barely get a single word in throughout the whole series, and he technically plays one of the most important roles in the downfall of the whole thing, and he doesn't get a frickin' anything to say.
Do you have any salsa in that bowl?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, give me some Tostitos.
Some Chippos? Okay.
We're also sponsored by Tostitos.
Of course. We'll find some more sponsors as the day goes by.
Tostitos. Modelo.
Yes. Get your Tostitos with Modelo and salsa. Also Tostitos salsa.
Yeah, that too.
With your Starbucks.
With Starbucks.
And your crappy gas station wine, which I will now be going to grab. Continue talking, and I will be listening.
Oh, I mean, what is there for me to talk about?
Our sponsorships with companies that we don't know. A lot of people had an issue with the time jumps, and while it doesn't bother me nearly as much as I think as other people, the reason that it's written that way is because the books are written that way. And the book is not a traditional book. It's a history book. It's a history novel. It doesn't have like traditional dialogue and everything. It just shows the events of stuff that transpires.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And so there's a bunch of time jumps that happen, like this is what happens here, this is what happens here, this is what happens here. And it's kind of like the same thing when they're recreating the events of like, not recreating the events, we're like, telling the events of Aegon's conquest. Like, it is essentially a history book, and that's what happens in the books. And so because of that, the show was kind of tongue-tied into doing this because they didn't really like filling in the blanks. They could be say like they're going against George R. R. Martin's writing, so they kind of had to do this at some points. And even to that degree, it doesn't bother me, but I understand why they did the things that they did with the time jumps, because on the one hand, we're missing a lot of context. Like, they're older now, like, there's a lot of years that have gone by, but at the same time, I understand why they did it. And for me, Rhaenyra's character, it helps her significantly, because though I do understand and sympathize with the younger version of Rhaenyra, I think the older version of Rhaenyra is so much better.
I mean, I personally never had an issue with the time jump.
It is an issue that a lot of Game of Thrones fans have with the show.
Oh, get over yourselves.
Yeah. Grow up here.
Like, if they try to cram in, like, in between episodes, like one or two fully fledged episodes, it would just feel like bloat, probably.
Oh, yeah. I feel like we got everything we need.
And also, like, it helps seeing the degradation that Viserys is going through.
Oh, gosh. Yeah.
Yeah. Which I love that. Like, I hate seeing one of my favorite characters just falling apart, like, literally. But, no, it's good stuff. It's really good.
When he walks in the room, when Rhaenyra has her third child, potentially? Yeah, third child.
Third child.
And you see him with no arm, and it's like, oh, and he's like, his hair is wilting away, and he's grayer. He's got a lot more like stuff going on, but like he is falling apart.
Yep.
It's rough to see.
It's sad. It is sad.
But yeah, that's the episode where you get to see everybody caught up and see Daemon actually not being a terrible father. He's not an awful father. I don't think.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think he's necessarily a terrible father, but he's not maybe the best husband.
No, I think that he has some getting used to, because he's married to, oh my gosh, I forgot her name, one of the Sea Snake's daughters.
Yeah.
And at that time, they have 3 kids, and they're going to have a 3rd kid. And for all intents and purposes, even though he's Daemon, he still has his same like temperaments. Like in the middle of a conversation, he just like halts a conversation. Mm-hmm. By all means, we see a different side of Daemon where where there is a side of him where he does love his family. He is a bit nurturing. You see that scene where the mother's walking up to discuss something with him.
Actually, I don't think he's necessarily a terrible husband now that I think about it. I do think what's interesting is that he actually just wants to stay in Pentos.
Yep.
Away from politics.
Yeah, he wants comfort.
And I'm like, dude, totally relatable.
100%.
I honestly, I think like Daemon is like at his like he proper family man. You know? And while his wife is like, I want them to live in like my homeland, blah 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 blah.
Which I get it.
Yeah, sure. But it's like
that's comfort.
But Daemon's just like. But why though?
He's very honest with it. Is like we wouldn't be independent, or like we would be guests. Like, isn't that great? Like we'd be getting free food. We'd be able to fly whenever we want. We would be able to do whatever we want. Daemon just wants to be able to do whatever he wants and like live with his family. It seems.
But yeah, I think also one cool kind of parallel between him and Viserys is they were put in the same situation.
Oh yeah.
Where he has to make the choice between his wife
and and I'm so sorry, like you saw that in his face when the Maester was coming up to him and telling him the exact same thing, and you saw that in his face, like, dang, I know exactly what Viserys is going through now.
But like one thing that was weird is her decision, his wife's decision, like just kind of walk up, go outside. And let her dragon fucking burn her to death.
That was a little weird.
I think the editing was a little weird. So, like, did she sneak? So, did a woman in labor sneak past these 2 guys? Or, like, did it happen after their conversation?
I don't think it was sneaking. I think they just let her go at that point.
Why, though?
I don't know.
Well, was Daemon... What was Daemon's like... Or was the Maester like, oh, maybe we should, like, put her back in bed? And Daemon's like, no, let her cook. Let her cook. Literally, let her cook.
I gotta move on to Rhaenyra. She has to die for the plot.
I don't think there's enough appreciation for that joke I just made. But
no, that was pretty good. I appreciate that.
Just let her cook, man.
Oh, gosh. But you do see the fact that he does love his wife, because he comes up there and he's just distraught. He sees that his wife is burning and he's like... horror, like he wouldn't be like unfazed like Daemon is like, whatever, she's dead. No, he's mortified. He's mortified.
Then he laughed during her funeral. He chuckled.
Okay, I think there's a reason for that.
No, I know.
There actually is a reason.
No,
for that.
I'm just making a funny haha.
Because like, okay, just to clarify, in that scene, the Vaemond, I think is his name, who is the cousin to the Sea Snake, he's making the speech, and he directs his attention to Rhaenyra and emphasizes on the word strong, because he is pissed because he knows that those are not his exact relatives.
Yeah.
Because he's right, but that's the joke that he's making.
No,
he's not making it about her, and that's what Daemon's laughing at.
No, I get that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, it's funny that he laughed during this.
Well, also, Daemon's still a psychopath.
I know.
Like, you can't take that. Like, he's still a caring psychopath, but he's still a psychopath.
But, So why did she just go out to get burned alive?
I think she just wanted to die in like a warrior's death. Like, she's a very traditional person, like warrior's death, I guess. Which I feel like they needed to be very clear that the baby was not going to live, because I think they were kind of inferring that neither her or the baby were going to live in that situation. But they really needed to nail that on the coffin a little better.
I think because in the book, from what I gathered, like, the child is just deformed and is dead, right?
No, that's Rhaenyra's child later on.
No. I'm pretty sure in the book, like, what the way it goes is that the third child, like she actually doesn't get burned by a dragon in the book.
No, she doesn't.
Yeah, like I thought it was that her child actually like dies during like childbirth, and she's like so distraught that that it weakens her or whatever. Like she actually like dies from fever or whatever.
I can't remember. It's possible you might be right.
All I know is that it's a weird change.
And I read the book, so I don't know.
I don't think that was a very effective change personally.
I don't know. It was fine. I didn't have an issue with it, other than the fact that I wish they would have clarified that one thing. But either way,
I mean, I'm sorry, but I just. The way it was just shot and edited was not very good. Because I'm just left confused. Like, so like, did she leave while they were talking? But like, how did they not notice her? Or was this conversation like, or like, what did she walk out after their conversation? But they're still having the conversation happening.
I think she walked out after the conversation.
But it's not shot very well because when she's walking out, I think they're still having the conversation. Like they're talking. Like you hear, like how do I put it?
Because Daemon does rush out. I don't know. I think I
don't think it's conveyed very effectively.
Yeah.
And I don't know. So yeah, then the next episode it starts with the funeral, right?
Yeah, the next episode starts with a funeral, and in that episode, that's the episode where the banging on the beach happens, and then Aemond finds Vhagar, the big boy, thick ass dragon.
Cool fucking dragon, by the way.
He is big boy, big chungus dragon.
Ooh, man.
That would be your dragon.
He's the only one that could actually.
He's the only one. Like, imagine Caraxes like the bloodworm. And he's bending him in half. It's like,
no, yeah, that big dragon's the only thing that'd be able to carry me. Oh god,
I think is the only thing that has.
I would break any other dragon's fucking back. They wouldn't stand a chance.
Like the dragons can't speak. They'd be shaking their heads like, I'm not letting him ride me. Absolutely not.
No, I get on the back of just a random dragon like.
The dragon just flies away. Vhagar like nods in your direction. It's like, I got you, man. Climb on, big boy.
God almighty. But yeah, Aemond went from a kid that I felt sorry for because he got made fun of to what a shithead.
Yeah.
What a shithead. Oh my god.
Just stole a little girl's dragon and then beat the crap out of a bunch of... He punched a girl right in the face, by the way.
Funnily enough, I have less issue with him taking the dragon, more with him just, like, rubbing it in their faces. I'm like, dude, a way to add insult to fucking injury, you fucking psychopath.
Yeah, like this... It wouldn't be as bad if this wasn't the day that your mother died. Like, gracious.
Or, yeah.
And this was technically her birthright to her children, and you took it from her.
Also, if anything, like, he loses an eye, which, honestly... Probably better for him anyways because he looked cooler as a result.
He looks pretty sweet. Like the eye patch does good things to him. Like even without the eye patch, he's got a little pearl in the eye. It's very fancy.
It was kind of weird seeing his eye kind of like be purple or whatever.
I thought it was awesome, dude.
Yeah, I mean, I
thought it was awesome.
I just thought it was a little weird. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I was just like, what the fuck?
Give me your eye is what he says later on. It's pretty cool.
Shit, dude.
I think he's awesome.
What I liked about one thing that I think is interesting is that the House of the Dragon is kind of just it's just the first season of Game of Thrones with some of the roles swapped, if you think about it. It's like it's kind of like a retail, but I think that's a good thing. I actually like it because it's kind of showing that history repeats itself. Because like there are 3 bastard children.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah, there are 3 bastard children. I can see it now. The scene where Aemond loses his eye, it's reminiscent of when Arya's direwolf Nymeria bites Joffrey.
Yeah,
and how Cersei, like Cersei and Alicent are parallels in that scene where Cersei.
Liam, keep it down.
I choose the other one.
For God's sake.
But how Cersei basically wants retribution.
Yeah.
Like, so she's basically want Arya to suffer for what she did to Joffrey, right? Like, and how Alicent wants the same thing.
Yeah.
Basically. Also, it just so happens that when Robert Baratheon dies, everything goes to shit. When Viserys dies, everything goes to shit.
Okay.
No, that's what I mean. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I think it's kind of showing how like history repeats itself.
No, I can see
right?
where your
It's
point
just
is coming
some of the roles are swapped a bit. Is all.
Yeah. Well, again, like the reason a lot of people go to war in these places, no one's really thinking of the civilians or the resources. It's all political scheming. Again, it's what made the first several seasons of Game of Thrones really good, is that the big wars that started were for very small political intimate reasons, and I think that's what this show gets really, really well, is that the main factor or the main conflict in this show is that when Rhaenyra gets into power, she's going to end up killing Aegon and Alicent's other children because they show a direct challenge to her rule. And it's a fear that is never addressed directly by Rhaenyra or Alicent, and that's the reason. Like most of the things in this series, especially from Viserys and Rhaenyra, if people just talked about their problems in front of each other and directly, everything would have been fine. But no, they just didn't do it.
Well, also one other kind of interesting thing is how these political schemers like kind of plan things in advance.
Yes.
Right. Well, like so, for example, when Corlys is wounded, right? Already, even though it's not confirmed he's dead or not, already they're like there's talks of who is going to succeed him. Right. Also, the same thing with Viserys. When Otto was telling his daughter that like when the king dies, that may be in a few months or a few years, right?
Yes.
We have to be prepared and stuff like that. And Otto had been making plans years in advance for when Viserys dies. Jesus.
You can pull it out. Do this. Pull it out. Like, keep it low because I still want to see your face.
Like
But,
this?
I'll do it.
I'm sorry, I'm stupid. Baby me. Baby me. What the fuck? You see the abuse I fucking go through? It's fucking bullshit. They call me fat. They hit me. They say I'm wrong when I'm right.
All right, go, you lard.
No, but I think it's it's interesting just how far along they plan. Like even with when Viserys eventually actually dies in episode 9. Right? Yeah, 9.
Episode 9, yep.
Yeah, like Otto had been making plans with the small council behind Alicent's back. And I'm like, and she's like, what the fuck?
Yo, bro.
I'm just like, damn. Like, even when he's alive and well, like they just been planning this shit for so long.
100%. Like the day after, like not even the day after, like an hour after, they were like, get together, enact Order 66. Let's go.
Basically. But we were
episode
at
7.
Episode 7.
One of my favorite moments in this is Alicent finally gets to let loose because she's a very put together person. You see that she has a big heart. You see that she just wants the best thing for her family. But in this instance, she finally just gets to let loose and just vent her rage because in her situation, she knows that Rhaenyra's kids are bastards. And it's very plain to see. And she's so sick of everyone pretending that this is not the case.
Yeah.
And especially in the fact that Viserys, even though he's just trying to avoid conflict, is not being fair in this scenario. Because Aemon's eye is gone.
Yeah.
And it was a brawl. So, by all means, Viserys should take his wife's and his son's side. But because it's his daughter, he's not going to do that, and he's always going to stand up for his daughter.
The fight that broke out.
The fight that broke out. In that scenario, I like that Viserys is just still not going for the throat or something that he should do in the scenario. And Alicent just cannot take it, and he's like, you know what? I'm going to take the eye, and takes out the knife and goes for the kid.
To be fair to Viserys, though, in his thought process, like Aemon took a dragon, right?
Yes.
Like, and he was rubbing it in their faces. And it was girls who swung first.
Yes. But here's the thing. This is the king's son, and you just took out his eye.
Right.
That's a death penalty offense right there.
Well, but also his grandchildren were on the other side of this argument.
Yes.
Right? I don't think it's as cut and dry, but like
But you can understand
both parties are in the wrong.
Yeah, but Allison's rage is justified, and especially because
sure.
she's just putting up a face, and she has to well, I guess I'll pretend that that's just not your kid.
No, like,
that's your kid when it's totally not your kid.
I'm not saying she's wrong for being pissed.
Yeah.
I'm just give credit to where credit is due for Viserys.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
He's like, well,
Sure.
Like, look, I get it. He lost an eye, which is big no, which he doesn't say that. He should have.
Yeah.
Because he does turn a blind eye when it comes to his daughter's family.
Yes.
Big blind eye.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, yeah, like, Aemond was being a shithead.
Yeah, you took an entire dragon on the burial day of your mother.
The kid said it himself. I may have lost an eye. I got something way better.
Yeah, I got a dragon.
Fucking the biggest dragon. Big Chungus. Fucking holy shit, dude. I do want to go back to episode 6 real quick because that episode does have my favorite monologue.
What is it?
It's the one with Handicap Strong, where he's talking about how love is a weakness, basically.
Yeah.
Like, like people are, so many people think that they can escape death essentially by having children live on after them or whatever, right? Well, I can't quote the whole fucking monologue, but that was fucking sweet. That was a sick monologue.
It was a sick monologue for a character that I don't particularly care for. That's one of the characters I feel like I didn't get enough of.
I feel like for me, I got too much from him at the end with his foot fetish.
Yeah, that's why I didn't get enough of it. Because I didn't get enough of the character, and then all of a sudden, let me see your feet. And oh, that's out of nowhere.
Yeah, I just think it felt like Game of Thrones just being weird just to be weird.
Yeah. That's not in the books, by the way.
Like, sure. Oh, it's not?
No.
Oh, come on, showrunners.
No,
I didn't need that. Like, if you're trying to be like, oh, well, obviously he has a foot fetish because his own foot is fucked up. And I'm like,
that's nuts.
Oh,
that's
yeah,
not how that works.
Checks out, I guess.
Goodness
Checks
gracious.
out. Like, look, why foot fetish, man? Why foot fucking fetish? Like, if she had just shown him a tit, all right, I guess I kind of get it. But now she shows her feet, which, by the way, do you think the actress, was that her actual feet, or do you think they got stunt feet?
No, they definitely got stunt feet.
Okay.
Imagine there's got to be a role in there.
I'm glad I'm not.
Feet.
I'm glad I'm not the only person. Like,
it's got to be stunt feet.
Oh, also, I could just imagine. So, okay, because before the foot fetish thing, I thought he was in it for power, right?
Yeah.
Like, no,
Littlefinger.
But no.
Yeah.
But he was in it for the feet the whole time. So I'd like to think that the first time he sees Alicent, his thought process is like, she probably has sexy feet.
Jeez.
Oh, man.
She's underage at that moment, man. Oh.
Hey.
Bro.
It's okay in this universe. Just saying.
Hey, man, let's not justify it real quick. We're going to have the FBI knocking on our door real soon.
No, but I do. The scenes, other than the foot fetish thing, I think the scenes we see him in, I think are good. I think he's a good character. He's interesting.
I didn't get enough of him by himself or with Alicent. I feel like I needed more. I felt like he needed more build-up, or he needed to be there at the beginning, because he was introduced, and I feel like we never even got a real proper introduction, because she says oh, it's you when they meet in the Godswood.
Yeah.
And he goes on this little thing where he tells Alicent about the tea incidents. And I get why that's there, but that wasn't a real introduction to his character, and we never got one later.
I'd argue that really shows how capable and smart he is, because whenever he's when they're discussing how what was the scene that I'm thinking of? God, hold on.
The death of their family?
No. In the scene where she basically shares with him that that his dad refused to that Viserys refused to essentially fire his father as Hand of the King.
Yeah.
Right. basically she tells him that, and he already puts two and two together of why that happened, and he vocalizes that, right?
Yeah.
I think this shows that he's actually rather sharp, and I think it was an effective introduction to him as a political player.
Sure.
I think that introduction to his character was more than fine. I actually rather enjoyed it.
I'm not saying it was bad. I'm saying I needed more. I needed way more of his character than just what we got.
Sure. I mean, if anything, look, I want more, but that just shows that I how effective he was before the.
Welcome back from the edit, by the way.
Look at my feet.
What? Okay. No. It has to be like a feet wipe. So go past the screen. It's like whoosh.
Hey, will you masturbate to my foot?
Oh.
Don't, because
don't give him free content. Don't give him free content.
My feet are a little dirty, actually.
That's some rough feet, actually.
They are kind of rough.
Those are not good.
Edit it out. They're not attractive enough.
There's some people online that are like, you know what? People like Laris Strong.
Oh God.
Google the feet. Google where's Allison's feet. Where's Alice?
Wait, is that his name? Laris Strong? Is that his name?
I think his name is Laris
That's
Strong.
the cripple's name?
Yeah, Laris Strong.
Okay. Well, I mean, at least he's a better cripple than Braun. Right? That's his name.
Every cripple's better than Braun.
Yeah, true. Okay. But let's kind of we'll rapid fire the last bits of this. Honestly, the last thing I really want to talk about, honestly, in depth, is the last scene Viserys has with all of his family.
Oh, geez. Can we combine that with that and the fact and the arguably the best scene in the whole show when Viserys makes the walk to the throne? Which is in the same episode.
Oh, yeah. I know what you're talking
that was
about.
episode 8.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about that first, since that happens first. Yes, I love how business as usual, but then Viserys walks in. I say walks in. He waddles in.
He Joe Biden's in.
But my favorite part of that, actually, honestly, was other than everything was a struggle for him during that whole scene, just because he is actually actively dying.
Yeah.
His body is decaying.
Dude, they make it a point to show you his body right before that scene, and it is disgusting to look at. It is an entire schlong to look
horrid.
at. It is gross.
Well, actually, they show the extent of the damages on his face after that scene. Which just kind of really makes you appreciate his struggle even more. But my favorite part was when his crown falls.
Yeah.
And Daemon actually picks up the crown for him and helps his brother onto the throne. Yep. Again, that for me, when I saw that, cemented that Daemon would have been the best Hand of the King.
Yes.
For Viserys. No one else helped him. No one else did. Mm-hmm. Daemon, it was immediate too. If anything, it was before the crown even falls. I think Daemon, his brotherly instincts were like, my brother is struggling.
Yeah, falling apart.
And I want yes, he's falling apart. Let me help him with this.
And you can even see that in his eyes in an earlier scene when he sees Viserys for the first time in many years, and you see how far Viserys has gone, and the look in Daemon's face is like, oh my gosh, this is my brother. This is who he is. And it's just sadness in his eyes.
Yeah, no, super good.
Yeah.
Loved that entire throne room scene, but for me, just as good, if not maybe a slight bit better, was Viserys finally got what he wanted in that brief moment.
Man.
He got to see his family just enjoy each other's presence.
Yeah.
Except for his shithead sons.
Oh, forget them. Screw them. Yeah. Except for Aemond. I like Aemond, but Aegon can die. Aegon can kill himself.
I mean, Aemond is a shithead.
He's way better than Aragon. I mean, Aragon? Hold up.
Aragon.
Aegon.
Yes, a series that
I'll actually take Aegon before I take Aragon, the movie.
No, but no, seriously, I think Viserys, he got to, I think, die happy.
Yeah.
Right? Because he truly believed that it was all behind them now. Which, tragically, it's not.
Nope, it's the start of something so much worse.
But he got to die in peace, or at least he got to go out with a beautiful memory.
Yes.
Right? You even see Otto, who's just laughing and having a good time. Mm-hmm. Fucking Otto.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
He never smiles throughout the whole show.
I mean,
except for this one part.
He kind of smiles, kind of, but no, like he seems like Otto's genuinely having a good time. Even with his political rivals, you know, Rhaenyra's having a good time. His grandchildren are having a good time. It's beautiful. I love that so much.
It's a wonderful scene. It's because the music, all it does, it centers in on Viserys, and the music in that scene is beautiful, and you just see Viserys' expression and looking out on everybody. And again, the actor who portrayed him, I think his name was Paddy something.
Paddy.
We'll say Paddy. Yeah, Paddy. The actor who betrays him absolutely killed it in that scene, and you just feel so bad for Viserys, but also like in this one moment, it's the one moment of pure bliss that Viserys has really gotten in several years.
Yeah. One other thing is,
and also the speech he did to his family is beautiful.
Yep.
And especially like him being vulnerable and taking off his mask and showing him like, I'm your grandsire, I'm your father, I'm your husband, like this is our family, and I love y'all so much. Let's be here together for this one scene. Dag nabbit. And then, one before I die,
and
please.
After that, like seeing this man who's falling apart, who has the weight of who had a weight of the kingdom on his shoulders.
Yes.
Still, family to him is just as important, if not more important than that.
Yeah.
And that's what has Alicent and Rhaenyra, at least temporarily, at least with the intention of finally reconciling.
Yeah.
Until the misunderstanding happened.
The unfortunate problems occur in the very next episode.
Well,
9
no,
and
at
10.
the end of 9, really, like where.
Oh yeah, where he there's Liam, by the way. There's the vegan.
But so one thing that I also think is very kind of hard, is actually kind of heartbreaking, is before that, where he needs to like, he's going when he's going to his back to his chambers or whatever, like he's gonna like walking out of a room, he calls Alicent by the name or the nickname of his first wife.
Yep.
And that really just goes to show that he never truly got over her.
Oh no!
Like
his last words are technically to his wife.
Well, that, but like also like whenever he's having a conversation with Rhaenyra in his chambers, like he's just fucking out of it when Rhaenyra's begging him for help.
Yeah.
He calls her his only daughter. Mm-hmm. Meaning, like to him, it has only been his first wife.
Yeah.
Rhaenyra was his only ever child. Like she was his only child.
Yeah.
Which is kind of shitty that, like it just shows that, he wasn't part of Aegon or Aemon's life. Whatsoever.
But even then, like, he loved his wife, and Alicent, as much as a sweetheart as she is, was forced upon him.
Oh, because he understands that by episode 4, really. Yeah. And that's another interesting thing. So many people think that like Viserys is an idiot, that they're basically playing him the whole time. Viserys is actually rather kind of sharp, actually. Mm-hmm. Like he understands, that there are cases where he's being taken advantage of and stuff like that. I don't think he's a big dummy that people are thinking he is.
I think he's more aware of than we give him credit for.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call him the smartest character in the
that's not
game,
what I said
at
all.
No. I think for what he is, and what, especially because all the characters are choosing to be political rivals and trying to find the best political avenue. Viserys just wants peace.
Yeah.
That's all he wants.
Yeah, one last thing. I do think the visual storytelling is on point a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Like going back to that monologue I was talking about in episode 6, there's some really good visual storytelling where key parts of his monologue correlate with what's going on screen. And also in the scene where Viserys, like he's kissing his first wife's ring that that he still wears, but also there's like the symbolism of death, apparently, which is a rat just like appearing in his like bed chambers or whatever, or in the chambers he's in, like a reminder that like he's dying.
You are so screwed.
Like he's going to die. Like there's some really good visual storytelling in the series, and I think overall, it's good. I enjoyed the ride so far. I'm excited for season 2.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that they improve upon some of the minor things, minor issues I had with the first season.
I think the benefits of season 2 is going to be that is going to be a more straightforward story because the only straightforward aspect that doesn't really occur in this show is that the time jumps make it a little convoluted sometimes. And that is a point where we have to fill in some details with the characters. We have to kind of have to accept certain differences because Allison goes from thinking that Rhaenyra is going to accept her, as she's going to accept her. There's not going to be any issues to the episode 6 where there's the time jump, as the thing that she rails Aegon for is that Rhaenyra is going to kill you. You are the challenge to Rhaenyra. And again, to jump ahead to episode 9 and 8, that does pretend, or 9 and 10, that is true. But I don't think Rhaenyra was going to kill Aegon. I think what the benefit of season 2 is that we are finally into the meat of the story. This is the Dance of the Dragons. This is the war that the book was mostly about. Like, we are getting into very vague content in the very first season, where not a lot of this is even like it is in the book, but like the meat of the story is the Dance of the Dragons, and that's what we're finally getting into.
You want to know what the coolest shot in House of the Dragon is?
What's up?
This is the coolest shot. No one can change my mind. The absolute most badass shot. Awesome. It's grand. When Rhaenyra's second son goes to the Baratheons storm.
Yeah.
I forget what it's called now. When he lands with his dragon, guards are visibly just like there's no reaction, right? Because the whole point...
Just get a bowl for the love of Mike.
Yeah, what's wrong with you? But the whole point was, like, the dragons were not a scare tactic, but, like, kind of intimidation, kind of, gaze upon the majesty of this creature, right? But there's no visible reaction. And it's like, huh. And then he looks towards, like, the storm, right? And the flash of lightning, you see Vhagar in his colossal majesty. That shot is fucking great.
That is Godzilla right there.
No one can convince me otherwise. That is probably the coolest shot I have ever fucking seen in all of Game of Thrones.
Yep.
Okay, season 1 through 8, even. Like, I cannot think of a scene as majestic, as imposing, as intimidating as Vhagar just hovering over him and even just like over the walls. I was like, holy shit.
It is beautiful.
It is awesome.
And by the way, the death of Rhaenyra's kid, the second son.
I think it was, it's not Jace.
No, it's not Jace. That's the oldest one.
Yeah, I know. It was, it starts with a J as well, doesn't it?
Jerry. We'll call him Jerry.
Jerry
Targaryen, when he dies, I didn't know that was going to happen because at that point I didn't read the books. As soon as I saw, like, just the calmness of the sky, like, oh, look, the sun. Vhagar, like, boom, it's like, oh my gosh, he's dead. He's so dead. And then chomps the dragon in half. The kid is dead. And Aemon's eyes, or eye, rather. He just like, I messed up.
He knows he fucked up.
I done goofed. This is not good.
Not only that, but what I like is, so essentially, Rhaenyra told her sons, you're there as messengers. You're not there to fight, right? The moment he fucked up was when he retaliated against Aemond and Vhagar.
Okay, that's not actually his fault, because it goes back to what Viserys was saying in the first freaking episode. He said to Rhaenyra, the fact that we can, the idea that we control the dragons is an illusion. The dragons still have a soul of their own. We can tell them what to do to an extent, but at the same time, those dragons have their own thoughts and souls, because Vhagar wasn't doing what Aemond was telling him to do. As soon as that dragon attacked, which, by the way, Luke, or was that his name?
It might have been Luke, yeah.
Yeah, maybe Luke. So I'm going to call him Jerry. So as soon as Jerry, like, attacked him, Jerry wasn't telling the dragon to do that. He was telling, like, no, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that. And then as soon as that dragon attacked him, Vhagar was like, oh, it's on. I'm going to kill you now.
I thought it was that Aemon lost control is what I thought
Aemon
it was.
lost control,
well, I know
but
he
also
lost control. But
Jerry lost control as well.
I'd have to rewatch it.
Both of them lost control of their dragons in the middle of a fight. And like that
dragon's fucking stupid.
They're both stupid. Like, no, but they also
I'm just saying that dragon is stupid for going against an apex predator.
Yes!
That dwarfs him. I'm just saying that dragon's stupid. But that dragon deserved to die.
Yeah. But it shows the fact that they don't have full control of the dragons all the time.
I'd have to rewatch it because I thought, because one of the things I really appreciate was that, like, that I thought was really cool was that, again, he would have gotten away if not for the fact that he retaliated.
I would have gotten away with the two if it wasn't for you darn Targaryens and your dragons. You big chunguses. My cat, that's what my cat does.
You want to hold your cat?
No, it's what she does this to only this thing.
Oh,
it was part of her like
I
mother.
just thought you wanted to show off your cat again.
No, it's the camera can't see my cat. My cat's here.
Hence why I said you want to pick her up.
I'll get her in a second. Well, she's kneading right now. She's
Whatever.
Fine.
All right, but yeah, overall, I think season 1 was a smash. It was good. Not as good as the first 4 seasons of Game of Thrones in my eyes. I just enjoyed it a bit more because my thing is, I think overall. And again, this has to do with 4 really good season of characters being established more. I just think the cast is overall better.
Yeah.
Like, there's not a, like, Tywin is, like, no one even compares to Tywin for me.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like,
well, to be fair, like, Game of Thrones is also a bigger cast.
No, I know.
Yeah.
Well, if anything, that just goes to show that despite having a larger cast, there were still so many fucking standouts.
Fair enough.
Like, Tywin is easily the best character. Tyrion from seasons 1 through 4 is incredible. Jaime Lannister is a very complex character. He's super interesting. Cersei, she's a shithead, but like seasons 1 through 4, she's interesting. Robert Baratheon, we only got 1 season of him, but he's fucking great.
Still amazing,
right? Ned Stark, only 1 season, he's fucking fantastic. Jon Snow. I remember when Jon Snow was like my second favorite character. Holy shit.
Back in seasons 1 through 6, and then we got just my queen. My queen. I don't want it.
I never have.
Gosh, freaking Jon Snow.
But yeah, who else are just standouts?
Arya.
Arya's good. Littlefinger. Varys. The spider, man. Like
the rivalry that never ended properly.
Like, seriously, Game of Thrones just has so many great characters.
Yes.
And House of the Dragon, I just don't think the cast compares yet, right? I don't know if they will compare, right? Because, man, that's a tall order.
Here's the thing. I don't think it's going to compare because I think, again, going back to what I was saying originally, I think they're telling their stories very differently. Whereas Game of Thrones is showing one character here, and it is bigger. Not saying that's a bad thing or good thing. I'm just saying that's what Game of Thrones is told. It's more sweeping. It's more epic. House of Dragon's more simplified. I don't think there's going to be as many characters. I don't think there's going to be more characters introduced or as many characters introduced in the next season because there isn't in the.
Well, I don't want more characters introduced. I'm just saying I don't know.
It's going to be more developed on the characters that we know.
Right. I'm just saying I don't know if the characters, even with more development, I don't know if they're going to be as good as what I got in the first 4 seasons.
And that's fine. For me, it's personal preference. I enjoy that type of storytelling. And personally, I've seen this show 5 times now.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the crap out of these characters, and I'm really interested to see where this is going to go in season 2. Which, on that point, why don't we go ahead and talk about season 2 a little bit? We don't have too much to say because there's only 1 trailer out right now.
I haven't even seen the trailer.
You haven't even seen the trailer?
No.
What? You want to see it now?
Right now?
Yeah, why not?
We can watch it later. How about that?
Okay. Well, in the season, like, as a whole, I'm very interested and very skeptical about what they're going to do in the first episode of season 2. Because that is going to essentially deem how we're going to view a few specific characters continuing on.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say what happened specifically, but I'm going to say that of the side of Daemon that we have seen throughout, we're going to be reminded of how cruel he can be. We're going to be reminded that Alicent can be a very cruel person, and we're going to be reminded how... we're not reminded, but we're going to see how Rhaenyra is going to be tested under the threat of war. Not the threat of war, the immediate war. Because at the very end, her son, Jerry, great guy, freaking dies.
Poor Jerry.
Was eaten by the big chungus. And, she went from a queen that's trying to pursue peace, trying to find every avenue to figure out if we can make this work, to I'm going to nuke everybody with dragon fire and I'm going to see you all burn. And Daemon takes that to the extreme because it was not his son, but he still raised it with Rhaenyra. So he's going to do some horrible things because the first 2 episodes, or at least the first episode, the title of that has been released. And if you know, I'm not going to say what it is. If you know what happens to the Dance of Dragons and you know the title of the episode, you know what's going to happen. And it's going to be the more brutal things that happen in Game of Thrones history. It's pretty rough. And it's a reminder of that, I guess, something that Game of Thrones does very well. Something we didn't necessarily see in the first season, House of Dragons, but something we're being reminded is that no one's safe.
Yeah.
And it's something that Game of Thrones did really good in the early seasons, and something that House of Dragon is going to do, because I really wish I could spoil some things. No. I'm not going to. Because I care so very well for you and our sponsor, Talkies. But I'm saying that I will say from the very get-go that no one is safe.
I'm glad that someone cares about, spoilers, unlike
Liam,
someone else I know.
Well, just straight. If Liam was on this podcast, not only would he spoil the entire freaking show, he would just spoil Game of Thrones right out. Like, nothing is safe from Liam's spoiler degree.
It's a good thing that Liam has not and will never see Game of Thrones.
Thank God.
Or House of the Dragon.
Thank God.
Fuck you, Liam.
Disgusting vegan. I don't believe in human rights. Jeez.
All right, but yeah, I'm excited for season 2. Again, I haven't seen the trailer, so I can't really comment on it.
Oh, you think the trailer for season 1 was bad? Yeah, it's bad. No, season 2, you see the greatness right out, and you see the rage of Rhaenyra is like, I want to nuke everybody right now. You see the thing again. If you're a Game of Thrones fan, you've seen House of Dragon, and you've read the book. You can kind of specify where things are going to kind of play. Like, this is when this is going to happen. This is when this is going to happen. I'm so excited. This is the one show that I've gotten into, and I really want to see more of.
But yeah, I can't wait for June to happen. A lot of good things are happening in June, apparently. So,
yeah.
Well, two good things. One, whatever thing.
Destiny, whatever.
Destiny 2 Final Shape, by the way.
Do we want to talk about Game of Thrones or Rooster Teeth a little bit?
Oh, I mean, yeah, we're going to talk about both.
Cool.
So, Game of Thrones. So, as I have alluded to multiple times, the first 4 seasons are fucking the best TV, ever. No comparison for me.
Peak storytelling.
Okay? I cannot believe a show of mostly politics and dialogue has intrigued me so.
Yeah.
If anything, Game of Thrones is the reason why I have such a strong appreciation for incredible dialogue.
Yeah.
I can't think of a show that has dialogue as good as Game of Thrones, at least on the top of my head right now.
And even though I love House of Dragon, the way that it told its story visually, character-wise,
yes, absolutely.
Game of Thrones has way better dialogue.
Oh,
not writing dialogue.
I mean, again, we'll agree to disagree. I think for me, I still appreciate the writing more in seasons 1 through 4, but that's neither here nor there. I'm not saying that season 1 of House of the Dragon.
I'm just comparing just the dialogue. That's it.
Sure.
If you're gonna compare the lines in House of Dragon, you got a few lines like what made us great wasn't politics, it was dragons, or something that Daemon says. Even I can't remember the line specifically. There's a few lines in House of Dragons that are great. Nothing that compares to Game of Thrones in the gloriousness that is I drink and I know things, and especially the lines that came before. What was Tywin's great line? I can't remember.
He has many, but
quite a few.
I mean, I will say, going back to House of the Dragon real quick, one solid really banger line actually from Corlys was history doesn't remember bloodlines, it remembers names.
Oh, that was a great line.
Great line, right? But in Game of Thrones, when Tyrion is telling Jon to the verbal abuse you get or whatever, wear it like armor, and it will never 100%. Hurt you, right? Stuff like that is
Littlefinger's Chaos is a Ladder.
Chaos, dude, holy shit!
That's one of the best speeches, and it came out of no. I wasn't even expecting such an amazing monologue.
Which, by the way, for people who think D&D, I forget, I don't remember.
Dan and Dave,
who think they were never good at what they did when it came to the writing. That was an original.
Yep.
That was original. The whole Littlefinger and Varys scenes that we got in seasons 1 through 4, a lot of their the stuff from their perspective, that is written by them.
So good.
This was back when they cared. Mm-hmm. Okay, I stuff with Robert Baratheon too, his when he's talking to Cersei. in I forget which episode now.
That's the best scene
like
in all of Game of Thrones.
Fucking when he basically when not just the what's the greater number, 5 or 1,
One army.
but also when Cersei, instead of just being a manipulative woman, she's more human when she asks, like, do you think there was ever a chance for us?
Yes.
Right? And he's like, do you want to know the actual truth? All that. Like all that is so fucking good. I can't stand that Dan and David are like used to be so fucking great at their craft.
Yeah.
Which they still are probably. It's the thing with Game of Thrones, the reason why it fell off so fucking hard, especially in season 7 and 8, was because I think there was a little bit of fatigue that they wanted to do something different. And I get it. I totally understand wanting to do something different. But like, I'm sorry. First off, you were paid a shit ton of money.
Yeah.
Okay. And I get you still want the money. However, there comes a point in time. Oh, that's so adorable. The cat is biting on equipment.
Yes. Keep talking because my camera died and I got to switch out the battery.
Oh, cool. So yeah, this is just the Michael show right now. So it's such a damn shame that for them, like, the money was more important than just going off to do something that they actually enjoyed. Like, they tried to still get a shit ton of money while wanting to then move on to something else when they should have just made one or the other decision, right? I mean, like, if I was in their position, like, would I have sacrificed the art just to fucking bullshit my way through the last season so I can move on to something greater? I don't know. I have no idea. But it kind of backfired because, man, they were going to move on to do Star Wars, I believe, which, like, could you imagine them doing, like, Star Wars back when, like, they didn't have the negative reception that they now have? That would have been, dude, everyone would have been super fucking excited for that. Stoked for it. I know I would have been. But unfortunately, they wanted to finish Game of Thrones as quickly as possible so they could still make their money and then move on to greater things. But because they fucked up so badly, not only were they canned on the whole Star Wars project, which will never happen now, but even in, I don't know if this is true, but apparently, like, they were in a D&D group, like a Dungeons and Dragons group, and they're like,
oh my god,
and they're like, yeah, no, you fucked up so hard, we don't even want to look at you anymore.
Heck yeah.
And I hope that's true. I hope that's true because fuck them. Fuck you two. You guys are pieces of shit.
Listen,
what even was that?
Two things can be true at once. They messed up season 8, 7, a little bit of 6. They're the ones that failed Game of Thrones ultimately, and ultimately they're the ones that carried it to one of the greatest shows of all time, to one of the shows that had the biggest falls of all time. I agree. This is coming from someone who doesn't even hate season 8,
which just fucking bugs me.
We'll talk about that in a second. And this is the second thing that's true. Everyone forgot how good the original seasons are and how good of a writers that they used to be. And everyone, even people that I respect, they go back in time like, well, even this in the first season or in the first several seasons shows that they were never good writers. That's not true at all. You're projecting.
Other than the White Walkers and the dragons, like, I never really cared about the whole the magic aspect of it, or at least the politics were more important to me than the magical stuff.
Yeah.
With exception though, because because of the army of the undead, the White Walkers, because even in the book, like the first scene in the show and the first prologue in the first book, it is a scene with the White Walkers.
Sure.
Right? So the thing with Game of Thrones is that, at least from my interpretation, is that the politics, as much as I love the politics, all of that is meaningless against something as the war against death, essentially, right? Life versus death. Okay, because it doesn't matter who sits on the Iron Throne. It doesn't matter how much political power you accumulate for your house. It is all meaningless to the Night King and his army of the undead, right? Because a corpse is a corpse.
Yep.
Doesn't matter if the corpse is from a peasant or the corpse is of that of a king.
100%.
But for for season 8 to just kind of, I don't know, defeat the entire army of the undead
in 3 episodes.
No. There was only one fight in episode 3. There was only one fight, and they beat them.
Yeah.
They beat them. How? Why?
The long night was a couple hours.
The long night was a night.
Yeah.
It was a brief night.
Yeah. Now, let's not talk about season 8 yet. I want to talk about that in a second. But to go back again to something that people have issues with, Tyrion's character early on. Even in the first several seasons, they took out quite a bit of his cruelty. Because Tyrion in the books is a very cruel human being.
He's a shithead for sure.
Yeah.
In the books,
and that really messes it up later on because they didn't establish that earlier on. It screws up seasons 5 and 6 for Tyrion because after season 4, Tyrion becomes way less interesting, and because of that, Tyrion in season 5 becomes more of a mopey, sad, everything sucks character, which his motivation is very different in the books. In the books, all he wants to do is kill his family. He wants to kill his sister. He wants to kill his brother. He has gone the path of vengeance, which would have been very different from the character that they established him to be fair, but at the same time, he would have been way more interesting and far more of a motivational and actually push the plot forward than what he was in the show.
I mean, I don't necessarily think the change in Tyrion was a terrible move on their part, because I mean Tyrion is a very likable character.
Yes.
In the first 4 seasons.
I'm not discounting the character, and to be fair, but I think that
I'm not saying that's what you're doing at all. But I have less issue with that just because I enjoy just watching the show more than I do reading the books. Also, like, the books will never be finished. So
George R. R. Martin is too lazy, and he will die of diabetes before he gets done.
Here's the thing. One of the big reasons why the show suffered in season 5 onward was because Dan and David, they ran out of material.
Yep. Because
George was like, oh, well, I mean, I could keep writing, but I'm already making all this money.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how much money he was actually making.
Because here's where the books leave off. Jon Snow's dead, and he's not resurrected yet. Or we don't even know if he's going to be resurrected in the books. That's where the books leave off.
I'm pretty sure. So George, he did give the showrunners basically like footnotes of like, this has to happen.
Yeah.
So Jon coming back, I'm pretty sure like actual thing.
Oh, it's probably going to happen.
And then also Daenerys going mad is probably another thing that is supposed to happen.
That'd be fine.
It's just the execution that was the problem.
Oh yeah,
we didn't get enough of it. But yeah, I mean, like with Tyrion, the issue with Tyrion also, you were kind of alluding to it, was that he's just kind of mopey. But not only that, but season 5 onward, he's not cunning.
Nope.
He's stupid. He's just like,
he loses any edge.
Like in season, especially season 2 and 3, like he was so good at the Game of Thrones.
Yeah,
he was so good. He made he was a big player. He was able to combat against Littlefinger and Varys. Less so his dad, but still like.
And he was having fun with it too.
This was this was perfect for him.
Yeah.
But he just kind of forgot, like how Daenerys kind of forgot about the fleet of ships.
The entire fleet?
I'm sorry, but how does one kind of forget?
Because the writers forgot how to write, and then they put lines in an interview in a documentary of, well, I guess that Daenerys kind of forgot.
She kind of forgot about the Iron Fleet.
That's such a stupid line.
I'm so sorry, but okay, you want to argue that she forgot. So you're saying that her military commanders forgot? You're saying Tyrion forgot?
Yeah, everybody else forgot.
Snow forgot.
Gosh.
Grey Worm forgot.
Mm-hmm.
My Sunday forgot. Her
what?
name
is, Mia.
My Sunday. She's just my Sunday.
Oh my gosh.
My Sunday.
Oh man, the guy that Grey Worm likes.
Yeah, that one.
God,
the one he fucks but doesn't actually fuck.
It's not technical. Well, yeah.
But the one he fucks but doesn't actually
yes, but
fuck.
no. Yes, but
yes,
no.
but no. The intent was there, but the necessary
requirements.
The necessary pull was missing.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but
You know what? I'm not gonna get into it.
no, but okay. But back to the stuff I really like. Ned Stark, like he is the protagonist. He's seen as like the main protagonist, right? Mm-hmm. And the fucking cojones to kill off your main character,
Yeah,
like unheard of, unspeakable.
yeah.
And I know I and quite a few people were worried, like, man, like, how do you continue the show?
No, they do a pretty good job.
Like, it's because a lot of people saw Ned Stark as like the best character.
Yeah.
Right? I disagree with that. He's not the best character. He's certainly like, even though he's only in one season, he is among my favorite characters.
Yes.
But like it was actually kind of a concern. But then I saw season 2. I was like, never mind. It's just getting better. Mm-hmm. This is fantastic. It's fantastic. It's great. Like I love that actions have consequences.
Oh my gosh.
Right? It really, like, Game of Thrones is a show that you are truly you truly believe that no one is truly safe.
Yes.
No one is safe. And even if someone doesn't die, something happens that affects them physically or mentally. Mm-hmm. Right? I love that shit. I love a show that does not have plot armor. Mm-hmm. It's great.
And, like, to be fair, a lot of characters are not written the exact same. Like, I will say Arya and Daenerys have a lot more plot armor than some characters. But that's not, like, again, that's not to take away from the main points of the show, which, yes, actions have consequences. No one is safe. Especially when it comes to the Red Wedding later on, where we think that Ned's death is going to be the cataclysm. Like, that's going to be the scene that no one's ever going to forget. No, not even close.
Like,
freaking the Red Wedding, I have not recovered from that to this day.
You know, I love how Game of Thrones, with tradition, that every wedding ends horribly.
Oh, just awful.
No, like, seriously, the Red Wedding, did they call it the Purple Wedding when Joffrey died?
The Purple Wedding, yeah, when Joffrey died.
And then the wedding in House of the Dragon.
Yep.
No wedding is safe.
Zero
there is
weddings.
No wedding where we get a happy ending.
If somebody gets married, like, even the wedding where there was relatively nothing happening when Tyrion got married to Sansa, like, Tyrion definitely threatened to cut the cojones off of the king during that fight. So even if there wasn't anything happening, there was stuff happening.
Oh man, I love Game of Thrones seasons 1 through 4.
No, Game of Thrones season 1 through 4 is fantastic. Not taking anything away from that.
But, like, even the visual storytelling in Game of Thrones is as good as House of the Dragon. Like, for example, in the scene where you are first introduced to Tywin Lannister, when he is basically skinning a dead stag.
The chattiest scene of all time.
Also,
that's a man right there.
Tywin is so fucking man. Like, okay, that scene does so much. Okay, it shows that Tywin is a very sharp, intelligent individual.
Yes,
but it also shows that he's willing to get his hands dirty.
100%.
Literally. Okay, and the dead stag that he is skinning represents that, like, they're basically the death.
Yeah,
like, or they're the reason why
their sigil is lion. They are the apex predators.
Yeah, but like, yeah, like, they're basically like a huge contributor to Robert Baratheon's death. Granted, the person who truly killed Robert Baratheon was not the boar; it was Ned Stark. It was his honor. It was his. What was it? His What was it that Varys said? I don't remember now.
I know what you're talking about.
It was your kindness that did it, or it was your mercy?
Yeah.
It was your mercy. Oh, so fucking good. I love the characters in this show. Everything about seasons 1 through 4 is stellar storytelling. Mm-hmm. I love literally everything.
Yeah.
Even the stuff that, okay, I will say, this might be a hot take for some people, but I always found the Daenerys Targaryen part of the story to always be the weakest portion.
Oh no, you're right.
Okay, so
partially because like that takes it. It's not as bad in the first season, but later seasons it takes place in an entirely different realm. I care about everything that's happening in the mainlands, in the north, in the south, everything that's happening in the main area.
By the way,
in
is that
Westeros.
Still recording? I have no idea.
It's still going.
Okay, cool. I can't tell, so.
The main issue with Daenerys' story is how disconnected it feels quite a bit of the time. Mm-hmm. And The only good thing that happens later on is that Daenerys finally touches down and their stories are finally converging. That might be the only good thing that happens because of it, but still.
Yeah, it's kind of funny that really, like, Daenerys for me is kind of a boring character, but Rhaenyra, I keep forgetting her name. Rhaenyra, way more interesting than Daenerys.
Way more interesting.
Way more, like, the Targaryens in House of the Dragon as a whole, all better than Daenerys.
Yes.
They're all better than Dany.
Which, to be fair, to defend Daenerys for a second, she has great moments to shine when the script actually really gives her a chance, because the script, to be fair, is pretty easy on her. Not saying that it's like her journey is not easy to give her point. But a lot of the things that she sets out to do, she succeeds relatively easily compared to a bunch of characters. But when she finally has a kingdom to rule over, she is put to the test rather quickly, and she's starting to realize, like, there's more than just conquering.
Ruling is hard.
Ruling sucks nuts quite a bit of the time.
Actually, something that I appreciate about Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon, this just kind of shows George's ability as a writer. But what I love is that the people who that the world or the kingdoms think should rule because of their blood ties usually suck at their job.
Oh yeah.
Right? Like, so a great example is like Joffrey, right? Even though, like, technically by blood he's like even though he's really not, because he's a bastard son, but let's just say like Joffrey, in the eyes of the realm, he is like the best suited, right?
Yes.
But he's a terrible ruler. He's a
100%.
terrible king. But then you look at someone like Jon Snow, who to the world he's a bastard son, where, like, he has no right to rule. He would be the best ruler, probably.
The best ruler, the one that should have ruled, for the love of Mike.
Yes. But honestly, I think a better comparison or better example would be Viserys' two sons are not the best. Would not be the best fit to rule.
No.
Aegon is a psychopathic fucking playboy.
Who rapes people, by the way.
Well, not only that, but, like, he watches children fight each other.
Yeah.
Like,
and by the way, those are most likely his kids too.
Some of them,
bastard kids.
For sure. Like, he is a terrible person.
Awful.
Aemond is also, like, just kind of psychotic as well. Not as much as Aegon from what we've seen.
I think it's a different kind of psychotic.
Yes. But then you look at Rhaenyra's sons.
Pretty put together.
No, and because she decided to live on Dragonstone, whatever it's called, where her sons, like, were raised better. They were learning. Like, seriously, her first son, Jace, he is actively, like, trying to learn a High Valyrian or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
He's really put together, right? Like, he would be the best candidate, other than, like, I guess, Rhaenyra herself, right?
And I do find it a little funny that even though Daemon is not a good person, I do like the fact that in parenting, he seems to be pretty put together as a dad, or at least to the fact that those two characters didn't turn out crazy with him as their father, because they grew up on Dragonstone with Daemon.
Yeah. And I like that Daemon doesn't treat them lesser.
Yeah.
Like you would have, like, expected Daemon to, like, treat them like shit.
Yes.
No, not really. He's, again, I think the family situation with them is
he's even in one of my favorite scenes that I feel like is most people's not favorite scene, when when the crown gets taken over by Alicent's and Aegon.
Yeah.
And Daemon is now, all right, let's test everybody. And he tests the King's Guard. And he's like, who did you swear to, Rhaenyra? I'm like, sounds good. Brings out his dragon, and he has his son watching too, and he's telling him, like, I'm going to teach you about true loyalty.
Yeah.
And he's saying, like, you can swear all the oaths that you want, but when it comes down to it, people are going to be after their own interests. So I'm going to put that to the test. He's going to put his dragon right up to these guys, like, okay, you can swear your oath now, but or you can say you vouch for Aegon, and I will give you a clean death. But if you say that you vouch for Rhaenyra now, and then later on you betray her, then know that you will die screaming.
Yeah. I mean, you can make the argument that really it's like ruling through fear,
Yeah.
which is not something you like. Yes, a good ruler, right, or a good leader is someone who that he or she has not only the love of their people,
Yeah.
the respect of their people, but also their fear, right?
100%.
You have to. A leader has all three of these, right?
Yes.
If you only rule through fear, eventually that's going to, their fear is going to turn into rage.
Yes.
If you only have their love, well, obviously you might not have their respect, so they'll walk all over you.
Yeah.
Now you can then make now you can say that if you only have the respect, but not their love, then like you are seen as a rival.
Yeah.
Where, they might try to grab power or usurp you, because again, like you were just a rival to them. Like you can respect someone, but that doesn't mean you love them.
100%.
Hence why I think again, maybe Daemon might have all three of those characteristics, right? So again, like it just depends on, is he only trying to say you have to rule through fear, or you also have to show that like they also have to fear you in some regard.
I think that Daemon is showing that you have to fear in some regard, but I'm giving the benefit of the doubt in that aspect because I know that Daemon, despite the benefit that I'm giving him in a lot of areas, I know that he's not a good person. I know that Daemon is, at the end of the day, he is kind of a psychopath and he is very selfish. That's just like for the Daemon lovers out there, like that's just who he is as a character.
Yeah.
Now, there are good aspects about him, and again, like I don't think that he was doing a terrible thing in showing him that, hey, this is going to be a trying time for us, and we're going to need to make sure that these people are on our side so that we don't get stabbed in the back. That's a fair thing to say.
Oh, yeah.
But at the same time, like, Daemon is not a good person. And again, when season 2 comes out, we're going to show we're going to have a quick reminder that Daemon is not the nicest person.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. It's going to be rough.
Now, for anyone who's made it this far, or if this somehow becomes a short, for people who are saying, well, I don't agree at all. Like, why should the people you lead fear you at all? Because here's the thing. If they don't fear you in some capacity, that means they believe that they can get away with shit.
100%.
Right? That they can undermine your rule or your command, and there is nothing that you will do about it.
100%.
Hence why you must be loved, you must be feared, but you must also be respected.
It's the reason why Viserys was considered a weak leader.
Yes, because he had the love of his people and the love of his council, and I do think there is a level of respect for him still.
Yes.
But there's definitely zero fear.
No fear.
There's zero fear.
If you want to get philosophical for a second, like a lot of Christians talk about the fear of God, and a lot of other people who don't believe in God kind of view that as like a weird thing. But again, like two things can be true at once. You can have an immense amount of love for God because of what God has done for you, what God has provided for you, and what God has continually done for you in your life. But at the same time, the phrase that we use a lot, the fear of God, is that the understanding of what God is. And it's the same thing with the king. You have to have the same thing with the king, an understanding of like, maybe this is a good king, maybe this king is a provider, he's a kind king, but at the same time, we have an understanding of what this person is, and you do not cross this person because there is that underlying fear and understanding of who this person is and what they represent.
And you can even trickle this down to family structure as well.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you do not, it's the same thing with your parents, right? I can love my parents, I can respect my parents, right? But if I don't fear what they will do for me doing something stupid and wrong, then I'm just going to continue these bad habits, right? It even comes down to, having all three of those for your father and your mother.
Yeah.
Right? That's really what I mean. So really, to be a good parent, make sure your children love, respect, and fear you. Because if you're missing even one of them...
The rod of death.
If you're missing even one of them, you have failed as a parent.
100%.
I enjoyed this long-ass conversation.
It's a long conversation.
It is. There's so much...
Might be the longest... How long are we recording? Pretty much 3 hours at this point.
Cool. For people who have lasted this long, I doubt it, but whatever. Thanks for watching. Tell me what you agree or disagree. I don't know.
Call us racial comments down below.
Wow.
The best one wins the Takis that we have. Not even like we ate them all, but
There's
like
still
you get
some
the
left,
we'll send you the bag.
I mean, there are some left, but there won't be any after we're done recording.
No, Michael will put his sweaty socks in here, and then you can be motivated to go throughout the rest of your day.
Well, that's incorrect because I'm not wearing socks.
Michael will send his toenail. Michael will send a picture of his foot in this Taki bag.
What?
which we will be sending you if you subscribe to our OnlyFans.
Wait, whoa. I didn't sign off on this.
It's too late. Roll the credits.
Oh, no.
Oh, wait. Roll that intro. Wait.